Okay. What is up, everybody? How we doing? Okay. Back and grounded. Get that thing out of here. What's up, Ducky? Welcome in. Full day today, because if you don't, I do have a build. We do have a full day. Yeah, so we got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 people that have shared worlds currently. We should be full for the night. What's good, Lude? How's it going? Hey, Lude with the 11 months. Let's go. So close to the 1 year badge. That's my favorite one. It's got the like infused look to it from the Grounded 1 New Game Plus stuff. It's a real nice one. Let's see if I can still play this game. Not well. This isn't Enshrouded where I can just face tank everything. Alright. The fact that it's been that long, I know, 11 months is insane. I mean, Knife's up to like 14 months or something. It's crazy. Freaking insane. He's at 15 months. Wow. Long time. Can't use the cat things because my sub to that guy is gone. Oh no. Min Lurk Fang. How's it going? How's it going? Stopping by to say hi. Sounds good. All good. Okay. Well, give people a few minutes typically to hop in. For the people that are here, of course, normal Tour Tuesday tonight. Next week, I think the plan is going to be to go back to Grounded 1 and show off some of the biggest, best, craziest builds that we've ever seen. Maybe just have a nostalgia day, because we don't have a ton of bases to do after this week, and I'm expecting between now and the December update for things to be a little slow on the Grounded 2 side. So we have some really cool bases that haven't really ever been shown off before. They don't have like tours or anything. Maybe 1 or 2 of them might have done, but it's been so long. And they need some viewership. People need to see them. So it seems like a perfect time to go back down memory lane next Tuesday and do some Grounded 1 mega bases and just see what happens. Be fun, maybe a little bit more relaxed, a little less about like the grading specifically and offering ideas, because like Ludorev doesn't need my help coming up with ideas. And if we show off Alfredo's, they know what they're doing. They're the biggest, best bases. So it would be more of just a fun show-off base review type stream. Get lost in it all, but that's kind of idea currently. The loading bar, yes. That's I'm messing with trying to get a chat overlay for Enshrouded as well. Since we're streaming on Twitch and YouTube, I was working on getting the chat overlay on stream so people can see both. I think it'd be kind of fun for reviews, but I gotta find the right layout before we get into it too much. I also didn't start on Twitch. Yeah, I streamed on YouTube a lot longer than Twitch. A lot. It's relative. But, yep. Nothing crazy. Okay. First base. What's up, Alfredo? Alfredo, welcome in K9, Shikaka, and Jamel as well. Always game for new ideas, right? We Grounded 1 thing next week, and you look at my Grounded 2, because it's all... If we're sticking on Grounded 1, and we're doing all Grounded 1, I'm not going to jump around. The disorienting for viewers, I think. Okay. Shibuya Matt first. Welcome in, Astro Lizard. How's it going? Hey, Action Jackson. Welcome in. Thank you for the 3-month resub. Long time no see. You guys are doing good? And a hype train. Let's go. Thank you guys for the support. Yeah, I think part of the reason I want to do Grounded 1 Ducky is specifically to let the Grounded 2 base reviews kind of build back up, so we have enough of those. So kind of, I guess, the way I'm thinking of it, slightly defeats the purpose to throw in like a mix of both. And also the Grounded 1 bases are so freaking huge that they are going to take up like the whole stream. Like, I don't even know if we're getting through like 3 of them in one stream. They're so big. I've been doing good, Jackson. Very good. Can't complain too much, man. Just need the winter update already. Although I've been having a lot of fun with Enshrouded, so it's been a really good mix-up. I'd like to play more than just Grounded on the channel, so getting into some Enshrouded, showing off our build skills in a different game is a lot of fun. And I like showing you guys really good building games as well. Cam Crusher, welcome in as well. Doing good. Building on and off. I started a pagoda base in Grounded 1. It's going to be a while before it's done, for sure. That base took me so long. Random question. Are you wanting a whole world tour or just a base tour, at least for mine specifically? Time-wise, probably just the new base. But, like, if we had time to show off the whole world, I think that'd be pretty freaking epic. But that would be one, like, your world would take up one whole stream. What's up, chap? How's it going? Welcome in. Yeah, so I think starting with bases that we haven't necessarily seen, since we have tours of yours between my channel and Potato and See-Through, we got the old ones. So showing off some of the new crazy stuff people haven't seen. Not that, I don't think it's going to be like a video necessarily. I think it's just going to be more of a chill base tour type stream or something. So, we'll see. Who knows? Building a base like the one I sent you pics of today in Enshrouded is the dream with a more natural mountainside layout. What did you say? Like in the DM? Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah, that'd be pretty epic. I'm having a lot of fun with the like back and forth between some Grounded, some Enshrouded. It's the dream. Play both. Both games, like being in early access and stuff and still having so much fun things to show off is like, makes it really, really fun. They're very contrasting as well. What was that? Hey, Shastia, thank you for the sub, the Prime sub. Thank you. Welcome in, by the way. Thank you, thank you. Finish the build you're working on, that would be cool. Yeah, it would be cool to see his. Welcome in, a thief. Welcome in, Shep, as well. Ooh, sounds nice, Jackson. Sounds like the dream. Thank you to whoever gifted me a membership. Much appreciated. Yes, thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you. Be lurking, but enjoy the stream. Thank you, Fear. Appreciate it. Vintage Story Gamers? What do you mean Vintage Story? Actually, is that the game title? Not something I've heard of. Luderav, you're telling me you can't get an entire cathedral built from now to next Tuesday? What are you doing? Slacking. Is the game title Vintage Story? I haven't even heard of it. Interesting. Not sure if anyone else has, but that's a new one to me. Minecraft, but on cracked. I did see that. What is it called? Islands? Crap. What is it called? It's like a Minecraft dupe. What is it? Hightail. Hightail is getting. Hightail. Yep, that's the one. Ducky knows. Is getting a revisit. The company that sold it is taking it back essentially. So it's Minecraft, but you have a chisel that can create mini blocks of every block. Interesting. Very interesting. Every block becomes its own 16 by 16 by 16. Wow. Interesting. It's the dream, but between that, planning a marriage, and expecting a baby is kind of overwhelming right now, but I gotta get the house ready for her. Dude, I would love to have a house to work on right now. That is also the dream. Everything's too expensive in my area, though. It's crazy. Guys that made the biggest server on Minecraft games. Get out of here. People say you can't build Roman a day, but Lude might be able to. I think he needs to. Really letting the community down, you know? But yeah, similar to, I guess, Vintage Story, what I like about Enshrouded is it's like Minecraft, but with smaller blocks, essentially. And the decoration and stuff. The decor items and props and all that stuff are so cool. Freaking insane. Okay. So, let's get into Tour Tuesday. 24-hour Rome build stream. That would be cool. That would be interesting. Chip is playing Enshrouded right now, getting the Ghost Glider. Dude, it's so fun. I'm so excited for tomorrow night. And if we're able to, just for other people who are potentially new here, if you haven't been in the stream, we are going to do Tour Tuesday tonight, of course. Tomorrow we're going to play Enshrouded and keep on learning the way of the water and building with fun water mechanics in the game. And they just updated it today. And the water mechanics are somehow even better than they were before. Like, all the jank is gone. And it is like such a smooth system all one update. It's freaking insane. And then Thanksgiving is on Thursday, so I will not be streaming Thursday. And then the plan is to do a day stream. Most likely, it kind of depends on how things work out. I still have to kind of figure out the plan with my childcare and what's happening. But I think we'll be streaming on Friday around 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, potentially. So a day stream, maybe we go a little longer. A little bit different time zone that I can't normally stream in because I'm working, so just mess with it and see what happens. Vintage Story is a little too intense for them, though. God, it does look cool. I would play with my non-builder friends. Yeah, it is, it's so fun. It's really fun. Enshrouded is only on PC for the time being. Once there's a console release at some point, they just haven't fully announced it since it's still in early access. So we got a little ways to go before it's on other consoles or on consoles and stuff. Please don't play on Friday. I got to. I can't do it Thursday, so. Yeah, Small Lands is another interesting one. Would be a fun one. If I had 8 hours a day to stream, I'd be playing every game that has building in it. But slowly introducing, we got Grounded 2, we got Enshrouded, we could slowly introduce some more games here and there. As I find time to stream more consistently, more times and stuff. Yeah, I've seen some of the build mechanics. Very minimal, though. The art style was interesting and intriguing, and the bugs, it's just like Grounded, but it's so different at the same time. Can't be there on Friday and don't want to lose my streak. I'm on 14. Buddy, I can't schedule my streams around one person. As much as I would love everyone to be there, that's just the way it goes, you know? Unfortunately. Okay. Let's get into it. Everybody ready? Got to do your mod duty. Let's go. Yeah, sounds good, Shigaka. Please do. Okay, so first up, we have Shibuya Mat. Another base up here by the statue, kind of in the podium area. The steps, I guess we could call it. Another kind of Japanese style one, so big fan of these. These have been really, really cool recently. Welcome in. Sub-Zero, what's up, G? How's it going, man? Yeah, so another great location. Always fun to see what people do in this one. A lot of pebbles. Love the little entry area here. Seen a couple of these. They always look so nice. Very fitting with the pine material and stuff. We got their whole kind of base over here. Some little buildings, but then like this massive Japanese type structure over here as well. Very cool. Let's start on the smaller side of things, just to start. See the beginnings, and then we'll go to the main base location. Okay, cool little buggy area. I like how you actually made a little spot so you can like climb up to mount your buggy. Very realistic. It's the fun little details that get me with these. I love the way you guys are thinking.
Let's take a second to get our composure.
Got the ant one, of course. Love the little lamps and everything as well. Also, is very nice. I haven't seen a whole lot of people messing with these two materials, the sturdy grass along with the stems. That looks very nice. Little tiki area, tiki hut with the bar and everything. Very cool. Yeah, I've been loving those lamps. Even a backdoor seating area for everyone to come out and have lunch at. Love it. Little tree and everything. Looks like we might be able to go to the roof as well. Ah, okay. A little place to stay for people. A hotel room sort of set up. Very nice, very nice. Very clean little build. You can hear me digging the stash, by the way. Yeah, I haven't had the stash. Oh, I guess I've had the stash for quite a while now, but I haven't seen you in person in a minute, G, so makes sense. A little armory, kind of like store, I'm guessing. Kind of looks like a little storefront, yeah. Come in here, buy your weapons or your armors and stuff. Gotta love it. Kind of reminds me of like, yeah, Legend of Zelda. Little shops and stuff. Little back area. Totally different little hut design. I love how you've gone all in on just like creating like the little shop and storefronts and stuff. Very cool little designs. I always love people pushing that kind of element of like, you don't have to just build bases where you store all your kind of stuff. You can build fun little things as well. Work in progress buildings as well. Another little shop of some kind. Oh, we got the like little hot tub area, it looks like. Assuming the orc disruptors are being used for like a water effect, I would think. Especially with these being sunk down. Very nice. Nice little lighting effects up here too. Got like lockers so you can like store your clothes and stuff. Yeah, I love the multi-shop designs walking down a freaking main street. Yeah. I love seeing things get pushed like that. Alright. Who knows if there's anything up here, but we gotta go see it. I miss the vibe of this game. Haven't played since we used to play when it first got released. Dude, that's what's so cool. If anyone in here doesn't know, Sub-Zero is my old college roommate, so we've been buddies for some time now. But I started playing Grounded 1 with Sub-Zero and two of our other friends that we, another guy was our college roommate, longtime friend of mine as well. But yeah, I wouldn't be here playing Grounded 2 today if we didn't start our first playthrough of Grounded 1 together. But you can, in many ways, thank Sub-Zero there for me even being here, because I wouldn't have ever figured out this was such a cool game, and then got into the second one. Well, yeah, come a long way for sure. Been in here yet? How cool this room looks. Ooh. Mona Nando Blade? Haven't played a lot of Grounded 2 when it came out. Yeah, if you haven't played Grounded 1, play that as well if you're waiting for the winter update. We've slowed down a little bit on the channel with the Grounded 2 stuff, just because kind of waiting for the winter update specifically in January to really dive in and start building some really crazy stuff. But still built some cool things, and we've seen some amazing base design. So Scary update was nice, but wasn't a bunch interesting to me. Yeah, it was a taster, you know. That's kind of the struggle of that update. It's just a little taster. Wouldn't even, they said it was in theory called a feature update. So the content update is what we're getting in January, and we'll get feature updates. But a feature update with an entire boss and all the stuff they added is honestly pretty cool. Pretty freaking sweet. I think once the winter updates, once the winter update comes out, a lot of people are going to be back for sure. Yeah, Axel was very cool, especially for how quick it came out. It was a very fun little update. Just a little thing to like get you looking at the cool stuff that they have coming and how they're thinking on scale wise. So it got me really excited for the plans for the future. Love this. Just like build all the way up here just so you can see the teens on the statue. It's very cool. Beer leg. I've witnessed on how Xbox screwed up PC Game Pass members has rubbed me the wrong way. Interesting. I know in early access there's always going to be lag and stuff, but I've been pretty impressed with how well it's performed for me personally with building as much as I do. But until we get to the later updates and stuff, I feel like the lag is always going to be a bit of a struggle in early access. They're definitely trying a lot of new things, which means there's room for a lot of other things to break every time they update stuff. Yes, mushroom bricks as well. But yeah, I'm really excited. You get a really good idea getting up here of just how freaking huge this map is going to be. And there's so much room. Cool thing. Yeah, the hand would be a kind of cool little spot to build a base if you could figure out how to build it around there. Just up with the kids and stuff. It's a cool little location. I haven't seen anyone else build, at least in the Tour Tuesdays. Haven't seen anyone else build all the way up here just to see it. Yeah, they're much more ambitious for the second game as well. Oh, and you're even covering all of this stuff up too. Curious what you're doing, your plans are here to expand upon this, because it looks like you're still building stuff down in these areas, down beneath. Have some like little stuff down there. We'll have to check those out as well. Like we get over there from there. But yeah, gee, I love the vibe of this game. It's so fun. It just has such a unique style. Everything's so interesting about it. One of those games that, I don't know, got such an interesting amount of like nostalgia from the 80s, 90s type references that they make with everything. The art style is so unique the whole way around. Just like no other survival game. There are a lot of good survival games out there, of course. But, I don't know, there's just none of them that quite look as interesting to me personally as this game does. And Shrouded's very cool and it's like more realistic, but I enjoy the art style of Grounded 2 and 1. It's just a fun little, very unique and different compared to most of the survival games out there. I like its broad appeal to a sort of a larger audience as well. Yeah. Got stuff all over this place. Yeah, good mix of survival and story, best quality of life in survival games as well. That is hands down. Oh, dude. You guys, and trying to scare me every time. I legit thought that was an actual wolf spider, and I was like, there's no wolf spider down here. What is this? Oh, every time.
Water, bringer of life.
You guys. Every time with it. It's not a real spider, it's the stuffed bugs. So you can build the bug mounts, G. And so it's just a like a mannequin of a bug. Place them all over the place. Just to scare me. Yeah, they had them in the first game, but I'm not sure if we ever got to a point in our playthrough where you necessarily saw that stuff. But they give buffs, kind of general buffs to get more loot and do more damage to bugs. Nice little bonus. Or you can use them to scare me when I look at your base. That's another way to do it. Wow. I gotta say, I know there's still a lot of work to be done in these areas to kind of continue filling them out, but I really enjoy how you're just like building all of this out all throughout this area. It's a really good utilization of all of this space down here, which is very cool. Got some really interesting, these like curved walls and stuff. These all look really interesting. Welcome in, Sark. How's it going? Long time no see. Yeah, the flow of this base is very interesting. Having a lot of fun. It's always fun to see how you guys like all use different spaces differently. Yeah, the curved wall usage as well, inside these square blocks, cement blocks, is also really cool. Very interesting. Going. You remember most is the crazy robot fight scene that, as far as I remember, we never beat together. Yeah, the assistant manager, I'm pretty sure is which one that is. Very fun. Now there's even better fights. Grounded 2 is even on a different level, and you didn't even see 90% of what they added to Grounded 1 as well when you stopped playing. But yeah, very cool village vibe so far. I always love seeing like a larger builds, not just one base. Seeing multiple structures is always really cool. Yes. Outside structures. Well, another little outdoor seating area. Sure, this isn't the order I'm supposed to go in, but I can't help myself but check it out. Whoa. I don't know what's happening there. Let's move on to the next place. How many hours of work was this, I wonder? Yeah, and I think they had 300 or 400 days, if I remember correctly. Always nice. Yo, 600 days. Never mind. Yeah, even more. Lots of days. Yeah, that's more days than I have currently. Got a fun little walkway, kind of path around here with the cool light designs as well. Very cool. Got some more areas, your feather collection and stuff. God, you're building all the way around here and everything. Jeez. How did I not see that either? What the heck? That must be your bounce web elevator for zip lines in the future. We'll check that out and try not to fall to our death later on. Got buggy storage and stuff as well. What the heck? Dude, I'm loving the surprises of this base. This is very cool. Not expecting to open a door and see like an underground bug museum, but very, very, very cool. Yeah, you've done a really good job utilizing, like, I feel like that's the one thing that I've noticed before, is that this space, because of all these like cracks and stuff, is so interesting to me. But we haven't seen people necessarily utilizing those spaces to their full extent, I think. And so this space is really interesting to see, like, how can you start creating that like maze effect in between all of these like cinder blocks or whatever there actually are. I think it's a very good utilization of the space you picked to build this base. So very cool. Yeah, and then we're into
Water,
the build
bringer
itself.
of life.
And this is even kind of like inside-outside space as well. Little storage area with all the chests and everything. All your function placed in one spot. Really well done. Very just clean, simple design. Everything's in here. Everything's got a spot. Egg hatcheries. Yeah, I really like how you've just kind of like divided this all up into these different areas. Very cool. Very simple, but it just works really well. It makes it really fun to like explore, I think is the biggest thing. In the inside-outside spaces, just like walking in and having no clue what to expect in each one of these areas is really, really cool. And it just keeps going. We'll go back to that space, but holy cow. Damn. I was not expecting a full-on maze. This is super cool. Very fun to explore. Love the little throne setup as well. Great little chandelier design. Welcome in, Motor Unicycle. Eating dinner so you have to go. Sounds good. Thanks for saying hi. Have a great rest of your night. Hopefully we'll catch you after dinner or something. Really good job. It's a really fun little base. I was not expecting the amount of detail and just spaces and how you go in between them all with it. It doesn't look... It looks like a pretty decent sized base from the outside, but the space that you've utilized in here feels very good. Yeah, really, really cool. Love the little like second story areas and stuff as well. Cool little lighting, chandeliers. How did you light this up? Why, mine looks so purple. Is it just these? Being next to it? It's just the lighting, I guess. Very well done. Okay, now we have to figure out how the heck to get through all of the maze downstairs. We missed a lot of stuff down there already. They're even... yeah. The secret passageways throughout this whole thing are freaking so cool. Ah, the lights from the chandelier above. That makes sense. Like little lookout spaces stuff. Very cool. All are, I'm assuming this probably the same thing. Maybe? Yep, another little lookout spot. I actually feel like I'm in a maze right now. Another lookout spot as well. Yep. Okay, what else? Anything else we missed? Don't think so. Mazes are the best. I do enjoy it. I really like the way they've laid this out and sort of have like interior, exterior spaces, but in one larger building. I think it looks really nice. It'd be a really difficult way to pull off a build. Definitely harder to think of space in that way. It's definitely a more architectural way of thinking and how you can divide inside and outside. My architecture teachers from college would be foaming at the mouth right now, loving every second of that. And your bounce web tower works incredibly. Just making it that perfect is a feat of its own. Gotta say. Even goes freaking higher. Holy cow. We are 100% falling to our death when we try to jump off of this. Guaranteed. I think you have the record for tallest bounce web tower we've seen so far. You even get to put a chair up here. And then you could just... oh, wait. Did they fix it? No. Oh, wait. Did they? Oh, it doesn't work anymore. Can't even fly to the ceiling anymore. Dang it. Is that the build height limit? That could be the build height limit. Maybe that's why. Yeah, this tower is freaking wild. Dude, there's no way I hit the bounce tower. Or the landing pad correctly here. Literally no way possible. Yeah, not only does that bounce web tower, it's insane how tall you got it. The fact that it works as well as it does is a feat of its own. All right, we're going to the bottom. We got it. Do it. Best. This is why I'm the best. No big deal. Didn't fall to my death. We made it all the way. Well, I gotta say, very impressed with this one so far. You have a lot of time spent in here. Very fun to explore. Very, very fun. I love that there's so much more than meets the eyes. Like, it's that first impression. These are the types of bases I just absolutely love to kind of explore and look at and everything. Just because you never know what's going to be around any given corner, which I think is super cool. And thematically, I think you did a good job. It's very fun to look at in general. Look at all the outside stuff yet. But yeah, wow. So, grading-wise, let's get into it. The first impressions, probably have to give an 8 out of 10 on that. What I love about it is the first impressions don't do it justice. I think it looks really nice. You have a pretty clean aesthetic going on. You kind of have your personal base is kind of one unique style, and then you have just like your little town or village build that's like its own totally different style. So each build kind of, you get to experiment, which I think is really fun. I would highly recommend people building out like villages and stuff just to kind of test out the materials and have fun with figuring out how to create different compositions and stuff. Like, I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of this, is that you're really experimenting with everything. It's not that I don't like really cohesive like builds that have a lot of continuity to them. I also really enjoy that, but I can see that you're playing and just having fun building as you're doing everything you're doing in this game, which I think is a big part of building. And just having fun with it, experimenting, seeing how you can combine different materials. Like, every single little build here has like its own completely unique aesthetic compared to the other ones, which I think is really fun. The layout and interior also really well done. I think I'd have to give you a 9 on the layout and interior. I know it's still a work in progress, so that you're still going to be adding more and more to this base. So I wouldn't necessarily say it'll be that forever, because I can tell as you continue filling out all these different spaces that you have a pretty good understanding of how to fill a space, how to make it feel kind of unique and alive. You've done a good job thinking through. I mean, so many restaurants are exactly like this. A couple tables inside. You can go upstairs. There's your little like restaurant or hotel rooms and stuff as well. But then like the back patio furniture is also a really fun little thing. You've done a really good job kind of looking at kind of real world builds and how you would expand and create a similar concept inside a video game, which I think can be a little bit more of a challenge to be more kind of realistic or pragmatic in the builds and designs of things. It can be kind of hard to think outside of, I need a place to build my base to survive, and that base building can be so much more than just a base to store your things. Especially when you get into like this level of interior design where you call your buggy over here and you're like actually getting on a little stand to get on the larger buggies. Like, those are really playful, fun things. As someone who spent decades in the restaurant biz, they nailed that look. Exactly. Yeah, and that's how you know these things are done successfully, is you instantaneously know, like restaurant. You instantly see exactly what all these little places are. They're little shops, a little kitchen. Looks like you could probably come over here. You got a guy cooking in the back, like a little like fast food type restaurant of some kind. It's very quickly recognizable. And of course, you haven't finished filling out every single space per se, but you're also building on a really large scale compared to a lot of players. So having everything done is very difficult to do. And on top of that, like the fact that you've utilized, this is like one of my favorite things to see in builds, is that you're utilizing a base location, and you're not just like picking this because it's flat. You're actually utilizing the coolest parts of this base location specifically, to me. I loved every time I see this. I'd see someone, once we get like playgrounds and stuff, I've seen someone building like a maze of some kind through here, and just something that you can get lost in. And you've done that without the maze effect. You've just built a cool kind of like sprawling base that really, really well, that does a really good job of utilizing the kind of spaces and gaps between these. I could very quickly see this becoming like a full-on city or like a resort of some kind. So I think it's a really interesting start. Having a lot of fun just kind of running around and seeing. And that doesn't even take into account that you've done a really fun job on the inside. Like, these are almost second-class citizens compared to the main build itself, because I think you've done a really cool job kind of building inside-outside space. Which, architecturally speaking, is much more difficult to do than just creating an enclosure and filling it with stuff. Whereas, like, you go inside a space to still kind of be outside, I think is a really fun way to do. Very, very cool. And then, like, the maze aspect of it too, just getting lost in the base, the way you've utilized the stair spacing, and you kind of you've done a good job using symmetry as well between like how you get up and down this base. Like, I really enjoy walking through it and getting to these upper spaces. The stairs become a very fun feature of it, so I think that's another really well done piece of the design here. The materials and exterior, I think another one you've done a great job on. Again, in terms of like the overall continuity, maybe slightly different, just because every build has sort of its own aesthetic, so it doesn't necessarily read between this and this is like one massive base. But I also really enjoy that you've played with the materials in ways a lot of players don't. Maybe a little easier to see it during day here, but very few people kind of pick one material, or in this case, I mean, the pine and thatch are sort of one material, and then the stem. You've done a good job mixing and matching those as well, adding fun little details, the lighting effects and stuff. Super unique little like watchtower turrets, and the fact that they literally function as that as well makes them a more successful, I think, design overall. Is you may not quite understand why there's little towers on the edges until you get inside and there's an armor dummy actually looking outside of them. And it really is an interesting design that you've thought about every little space. You didn't waste a bunch of space. There's not like big open randomness. You did a good job kind of like creating a fun little tiered effect. We haven't seen very many of these where people have like built up and then utilized the space underneath as well. There's a couple other builds that have done a good job on it. But I really like that there's a buggy museum down under here. It brings, especially like when you're trying to get pictures and images of this, the fact that you can be down here and the way you've raised the whole thing up does a really good job highlighting all the exterior work you did. In terms of a score, I'd probably give you another 8 on the exterior. I think individually, each one of these is reading as a really cool little build. The illusion or the overall effect is lost a little bit just because of that. But I also really enjoy seeing you experiment with all the different materials. There's not a single material that you haven't kind of messed with or put somewhere in this base, between like grass, sturdy grass, stem, pine. I call the other side of the pine wall the thatch. The thatch is the inside, or is typically how I describe it. But I think you've done a really good job, and I think there's a lot of potential between each one of these things individually. Maybe moving forward, the only thing I could say is potentially try creating a slightly more cohesive theme between all of them. Maybe one little design aspect. Is it a little tower that gets added or something? Is it the outside? Potentially continuing like this fun walkway design could be a way of like tying the whole thing visually together. Because the only like critique I would have is that it does kind of feel like the the builds divide between these two, and you have like your personal really cool base, and then you have this really interesting like village build that they don't quite read as like one thing quite yet. But I think it's really interesting. Even so, these are small nitpicky kind of points. Overall, it's not necessarily a grade against the thing as a whole. I think it's fun that you're experimenting with the different materials and stuff. The structure, a little bit harder on this one. I think it kind of just works. Like I'd say it maybe has to be a 7 potentially. Not that it's bad. I think 7's a really solid score. Typically, I think where you've succeeded, I think I have a lot of fun seeing like the structural element of this being kind of the pebble, especially because it is sort of mimicked here as well. So it kind of visually reads really well into this base. This base feels very well grounded, pun fully intended. But maybe this side, the structure doesn't quite match aesthetically quite as much. But these aren't super tall builds or anything, so they don't need to like visually have a massive amount of structure or anything. It's kind of harder to grade this type of base since you don't have like cantilevered structures. Everything just kind of works. It's not maybe as apparent, the structural side of things, which is not necessarily something that's needed for a base to be successful by any means. It's just like one of the random metrics that a lot of people can use some improvement on. But I think overall, you've done a successful job here, so it's not something you can you need to worry about necessarily. I think it works pretty well. The functionality of the base, another easy one. Simply probably an 8 on this one. There's always a little bit of room for improvement on the function of things. I tend to like to see
Water, bringer of life.
bases function really well, but also have a lot of fun with it. I think you've done a really good job laying these out. It works really well. Everything's organized in a very it fits my my OCD of how I lay things out typically very well. So I think you've done a great job. Everything works. The only other thing is maybe finding ways to sort of integrate some of these things into the base a little bit more. Can be a fun way to sort of bump up the functionality, is where you see like higher level design choices being made with it. But there's definitely nothing wrong with just a simple crafting room that's laid out really cleanly. You can get to everything. Everything's in range of everything. So there's nothing wrong with this in any way, shape, or form. It does work and function exactly as it needs to. And the theme and continuity, I think I almost want to like give you 2 separate grades here, because I feel like this base is probably like a 9 on the theme and continuity. It looks really good. I really do like kind of the darker pebble with the thatch and the way you've kind of like layered these things. I think that is, for me, is working really well. Again, like adding in sort of stem here that almost works as like windows as well and brings in more light is also another really good decision. I really like the like Japanese architectural style that you're using here, even if you can call it that. It's kind of like your own unique take on it, which I think is a really fun way to utilize these materials. And you've done a really good job just adding little details and stuff. This reads as a very, very good design overall. And then my only critique again is that it does kind of feel like these two are divided and you have a build and a different build kind of going on. But not that necessarily needs to read as one whole thing. I don't necessarily know your entire intentions per se to tell you this could have been a separate build and this is something you're doing totally separate. It just happens to be in the same area. But I think if I could say anything on theme and continuity, I really like all of these as individuals. And now it sort of comes to the idea of how do you maybe start tying some of these things in a little bit more to one another? I think it does kind of work. I do like there are very many like old city designs and stuff where each building is super unique and they aren't necessarily copy paste of each other, which I think is there's nothing wrong with that by any means. I think that's a very interesting design to kind of work with and mess with. And it does sort of feel more like an organic city in many ways, which I think it is its own sort of aesthetic. But it would be kind of nice. I think if I were to change anything on this, I really like the path that you've designed over here, and maybe finding a way to not have just a big wall here and kind of completely seclude this base as its own. But finding a way to kind of utilize this design and visually tie these two things together a little bit more, I think would really help with just the overall aesthetic between the two. I could very easily see like the same kind of meandering little pathway that goes all the way down here to your massive, crazy staircase that you built all the way up to the top, which I'm still kind of blown away by the fact that you actually put all the effort into building that thing. Because there's obviously a ton of work here, so I think you've done a really good job. And it's very minor, very, very minor improvements that I'm saying overall. Because I enjoy the way you're kind of messing with things, and they don't necessarily have to be... everything doesn't necessarily have to be a specific style and design to be successful, because I think each of these things kind of works on its own, and it also creates a fun... it creates a very fun base to explore at the end of the day, which I think is the goal, right? The overall creativity, I think I have to give you a 9 on this one. I think you've done a really good job. You've messed with all the materials. You've messed with totally different designs between every single building. Not one thing feels like it's been copied from another base. The shapes, the materials, everything is super unique and different. The way you wander about this base and like explore the different areas and kind of open random doors to different spots, like you wouldn't really expect to just kind of like randomly go down to a little like bug museum down underneath the base, but it's right here. Like it's a really fun way to like explore a base and utilize like every square inch of this area that you've built. So I think that's a really good job. And the overall potential is, I mean, a 9 easily. I think you have a ton of potential between the different designs you've done, the insides, the outsides, the fact that you're using, you're building all the way out to like this area in ways, and down in these, like utilizing these cracks as fun little base locations. They're super safe from like raids and everything. Everything has to like come in like one area. So it's also fun, but also just creates sort of a resort vibe at the same time. And it gives you a lot to work with in the future, which I think is really fun. And I'm actually very excited to see what you do with more materials once we get them in the game. Because if each one of these builds can be like completely unique of one another, I can't wait to see what you do with another 3 or 4 materials added to the game and things that look totally different. Very cool. Very, very cool first build of the night. Once again, Shibuya Matt, thank you for letting us view this one. Thank you, thank you. Awesome, awesome build. Very cool to see. Another one I know a lot of people are going to take some inspiration from, and we'll probably be seeing some of these cool ideas in future builds as well. So thank you once again. Very, very cool base. Pretty good one to start with. Gotta love it. Definitely some wild concepts. Yeah, it's very unique and interesting. There's so many like different things they're messing with, which is really fun. Hey. Clearing that upside. All right, next up we have knowledge. Let's see this one. I'm gonna turn off my cam real fast. I think I spawn side of this base, so I wanna get to the outside, because if you saw a very small glimpse of it if you looked at the thumbnail for today. This one is very, very unique. Very, very unique. I don't think we've seen anything in this area. We've seen some areas. Maybe the best thing I could do to spoil a little bit of it for you guys is think root bases, but not in the root areas. Uh-oh. Sorry. Okay, we're good. I'm alive. We're fine. I honestly have no clue where to start with this base. This thing's insane. We're going to be wandering around like chickens with our heads cut off, dude. Where to go here? There's so much happening in this base. I don't even know how to like properly describe it to you guys. Also, pitch freaking black. I wonder if I can... It's so cool at night. I don't want to lose the effect of night, but I also don't know where to start. It might be easier if I see it at day. Oh, it's night, so good. We'll do it. We'll do a night review. Jamal, that's you? Is it? Knowledge? Oh, yeah, you said that. Duh. Yeah, full black. Yeah, I'm turning off the screen because I try not to spoil in the beginning when I spawn inside someone's base. Okay. Just makes it... A lot of the times I'm like right in the middle of the base, so I have to like run out of it to find where I should start. Definitely a ton of cool ideas. Now I got to work on a village area. Oh my gosh, Impasta, you're in for it. Okay. So, next up, we have Knowledge. This one, I love the name of it, Turrets and Roses, because it's built in the rose patch here, and it is like the whole rose patch. Like, it's all over the place. At night is best? Yeah, I definitely think so. I definitely think it's insane. Very, very cool spot, kind of location. I don't think we've seen anyone necessarily build over here yet. In either of these locations, so it's a really cool little one. Maybe a little difficult to get your resources and stuff back here, but it looks like you figured it out. Turrets and Roses is nice juxtaposition, right? Very cool spot. But yeah, so like I said, similar to the idea of some of the root bases we've seen, but instead of being like underneath the overhangs with all of the roots hanging down, they've utilized the rose bushes to build up everything. And I gotta say, it creates for a pretty crazy experience. One, I love the way already how you're like dividing up all this space. The lighting is so freaking moody in here, which is, it feels like a perfect fit, honestly. It's a very nice fit visually, just kind of like wandering through this, as you can see. And I apologize if I miss anything here, but you have so much built, and it's so interesting. Like, this is just the ground level. Like, the pathing that you've done through here is super fun. It feels very natural. I love that you've just kind of, like, fully committed to building out pathways around all the little water spots and everything throughout here. Is very cool. And again, I guarantee we're going to miss something interesting here because it's so big, but it's... We'll do our best. I've committed to the idea that some base reviews just have to be longer than others, and that's totally fine. Freaking love like all the ants and everything. You created such an interesting, just little aesthetic out here. Again, love these lamps. Normally, I'm not a big fan of these grass pieces, but it does create a really nice little effect. It's a very unique little lamp that feels very, feels really good in this area. You've done a really cool little job with it. And you got the turrets all over the place. Turrets and Roses, of course, being the base name, literally all over the place.
I promise.
Very funny. Thematically fun build. Very, very fun. So much going on. I just want to like wander around the lower area constantly. Welcome in, Kesha. Alright, let's get up here. I love that you've got like different lighting too, like kind of red moody on the bottom, and then it's like green up in these areas. Have your own little curious if you would call it soccer. Is it more of a basketball? We have basketball hoops, so probably not. It feels more like a futsal court to me, which as a soccer guy, I'm a big fan of. I think it's very cool. And it's super fun to like completely switch up the lighting. Dude, just so much too. It's everywhere. Holy cow. Really fun little ideas. Oh man. Just like the walkways again, I absolutely loving the way you've done these bridges and everything. I know they're very minimal and everyone's gonna fall off and follow their death constantly, but at the same time, like having the really heavy look of the like pebble paths around water and then these like really light and airy bridges on the upper areas is very fitting. I think it's very, very well done. Great little balcony spaces. Got some little rooms and everything. Got aphids running around all over the place. Knowledge, you gotta let me know. Is this one a survival or is this a creative build? Holy cow. So much going on. Like all, just all the starter weapons and everything. Dang. Everyone, what is happening right now? Like, yeah, this isn't insane, dude. This is a really fun build. I'm absolutely loving the way you've kind of laid this whole thing out. Very cool. I'm afraid I'm going to fall off constantly, but it's also... all survival, yeah. I had a feeling, but it makes it even more impressive that this is all done in survival and you've collected all of this material. This is a huge, huge build. Very cool. Like some type of like movie screen, movie area, I'm guessing. If I had to guess anything. What the heck is over there? Oh. I saw something and had to go for it. I skipped around the way you're supposed to go in though. You can go upstairs as well. Is there also a down one? So much going on right now. Oh, it said AMC. Oh my gosh, I didn't even put that together. That's what the targets were for. That's so good. Oh, that's so funny. Dude, your lighting is so cool. Even got like the guys in like the back like projecting things or whatever. Very cool. Yeah, really, really cool. The playfulness of the design in general is freaking awesome. Get a couple drinks in the movie theater and fall to your death on the bridges afterwards. That would be me 100%. If anyone wants to know what my first Grounded 1 playthrough was like, it was falling off the hedge maze 10 trillion times before we finally got it figured out. It was a fun one. Again, really cool little designs here. I absolutely love the way you've like clipped the these peak domes into these places. Those look really cool like that. Really small little details and stuff, but I love it. Gotta say, it's really cool. Then you got your bathrooms as well, of course. The new thing that everyone's got doing recently, bathrooms everywhere. Gotta love it. And a really fun use of random materials. I really do like the mix of the different, like the green and the red and the thatch and all this stuff. It's really cool. And another way to just kind of get up and down, of course. Of the creativity and design. It's such a huge build. Yeah, this is super cool. The question is, how the heck do we find our way up to the rest of these places? Oh, is this a gallows? That is definitely a gallows. Like the little axe thing that falls down. And you even have the bucket. Oh my gosh, you're having so much fun with this. Oh, I love it. God, these bridges are so confusing, but also so cool at the same time. And you're even like switching in between them and stuff. Got mini houses. Guillotine. Yes, not gallows. That's for hanging. Duh. Guillotine is the word. Thank you. Can you place signs? Not really. You could do like markers and stuff, but there's not really a good way to do signs to date. At least that I can think of. Honestly, if these... Normally, I'm not a huge fan of just like single columns like this. Yeah, you could use a chest. That's one way. You can use a chest, but they just load so slow. They're like half worthless. They only load when you're like too close to them. But yeah, another, like, really like the little mushroom designs, just adds more to the natural effect. And as I said, not usually a huge fan of these, but I also think it does a pretty good job, like, mimicking the plant stems as well. Of course, if they were green, it would look exactly like them, and it'd be just a perfect fit, but visually, it really is about the closest thing you could get to sort of mimicking more branch designs. So I think that's a really cool little way to do it. Just keep going up. Got a little basketball court as well. Gosh, this is so cool, dude. If you got soccer courts or futsal fields, you got basketball courts, all the flowers. I don't even know what's happening up there. Too scared to fall down there, even though I'm assuming I probably can. Let's go up the stairs first. Wow, and there's even more over that way too that we haven't even we barely even started, man. This is crazy. And is this supposed to be like a one of those like mirror maze type things? I'm guessing. Kind of, it gives off that vibe with the orc disruptors, which is really interesting. And it actually is like visually difficult to see in these areas. It's really fun. Yeah, I can't even tell like what the point of so much. Drunk simulator? Yeah, that's so perfect. Oh, I love it. It really is like a drunk simulator. Oh, look really nice too. And yeah, your lighting is really well done. Where the heck are we going? What? This place is ridiculous. Yeah, I'm actually amazed at how much you have going on. There's so much happening in this base. You have like your little exit over here. Well, oh, uh-oh. That wasn't built yet. You can go down? What that mean? Epic music starts. Oh, now we gotta jump all the way back up. 6 hours later. This is where they need the corner block really bad. Back to front. So this is the end of the base. Try not to fall to our death now. Back to the base. Or I guess that's the front of the base, and I started in the wrong spot. Yeah, it's a really cool hallway effect, too. I like how you've mixed up the flooring and stuff in there. Uh-oh. Oh, well, we went back this way. We're experiencing it like the drunk that you've created this for. Still under construction? All good. With how much you've built, I'm amazed that there's not more under construction still. You have so much built here. Now we gotta find our next ladder. Think. Okay, got some like more crafting and storage spaces. More stairs, more buildings. Dude, there is so much built here. This is insane.
Now that's
Dew collectors and water catchers as well. I love like you can be up. You've like utilized, but depending on what material you're using, use different railings and stuff too. It's a fun little detail. Probably your main bedroom, it looks like, potentially. We're there. We missed that too. Like pallet storage as well. See if we can jump over there after we get through these areas. I am honestly kind of blown away. I don't get how you guys do this type of design, like the just chaos, everything's going everywhere, and somehow you find a way to like to actually make these things connect in a way that isn't just absolutely confusing. And I can still manage to, with zero input and zero help, I can still find a way to get to each one of these areas. It's a very difficult little challenge to do. Also, like, leaving the gaps and everything in here so the flowers still come through is also really well done. Archery range type space. Bugs everywhere. Very cool. Wow. Feels like we've just barely scratched the surface. Yes, there are rugs. There are spider rugs in this game. They also have like bees, weevils, aphids, a couple other things too, I think. Got the axle mount in here. Okay, that's how we get up that way. I go that way or this way? Dude, your the way you move through this base is kind of insane. There's so many different designs of getting to these different areas. Feels like every single space you get to it in a completely different way. Very cool. And impressive that you, like, creatively, you've done all these different ideas in one base. It's hard enough to come up with this many ideas just in general. But to have them all integrated into a single base, pretty frickin' crazy. Another area. Ooh, the fancy bed. Very nice. Fun little bedroom. Base, very cool. Like trying to like remember how we got in. And yes, the little bounce web was just to get up to this place faster. I think. There we go. Up to the little kitchen space. Kitchen living room type design. Nope, go this way. And we still have to get over there. And I think that's the majority of it. I think very unconfidently, though. That's your house? Very nice. Got the whole kitchen, everything. Got stuff over there we missed. We see that yet? We even saw that. Holy cow, man. This is insane. Alright, slight shortcut. I can figure out where the heck you even get into this space. More little bedroom type spaces as well. So many little house designs. Again, more turrets everywhere. Resort section. Up. Even more. Just keeps going. So many things. Love it. So many houses, so many places. All right, knowledge. Did I miss anything important? You can also kind of start seeing this during the day, too. Perfect timing. Kind of give out scores and stuff while we finally start to see the base as a whole a little bit more. And I already know we definitely missed some stuff over. Quite look at. Love it's like almost like its own little resort. Like just so many random little base places for people to come and stay and live in. Very interesting. That we hadn't seen yet? Yeah, I didn't think we had seen this yet. Wow. Knowledge. Very cool. Uh-oh. Yeah, you can get a little bit better idea of the scale of the whole thing from down here during the day, too. Hit everything. Let's go. And so much room, somehow, to keep building. You got the whole thing up there. Crazy hallway going like through there and around as well. Very cool, man. Very cool. The bird? Where's the bird? You saying like the crow? What's up, brochacho? Welcome in. So many little details. Great timing for an epic little base. It's not little. Not little at all. It's just massive. So much going on. Well, if we've seen everything, we can keep running around, but we'll get right into the scoring. The first impressions, I love that you can't even see the whole base from one location. It's that big. There's so much going on. You have so many different little design ideas and stuff happening. It's, the first impressions are, probably have to give it a 9 just because there's just so much. There's so much happening. It's just very fun to kind of visually see from each place into other places. You get a rough idea, but like everywhere you look, there's something new. There's a different build happening. There's a different thing going on. Different lighting effects. Between all the different things you have going on, I think it's at first glance, it's really cool. And honestly, the crazy part is it just gets more interesting the more you get into it as well, which makes it really cool. The layout and interior. It is crazy and there's a lot going on, but I think in many ways that's exactly how you planned it, which I think is really fun. It has a really nice vibe of both playful craziness, sort of like a tree house, I guess, but this is a rose bush house. But I think this is the exact kind of thing it needs. If you're gonna build sort of like a treehouse effect, I think it's a very good fit, is what you've designed here. I'm gonna die. Oh, jeez. Ouch. Okay, don't do that anymore. I failed too hard. So layout and interior, I'd probably have to give you an 8 on it. There are moments where maybe it's a little chaotic, but at the same time, I enjoy that side of it. It's not necessarily a detracting feature by any means. I enjoy that each level kind of uses its own bridge effect. Like each one sort of has its own little bridge design going on. Each area is totally unique. There are a few bases that we've kind of done this. Similar like Astrolizard. I mean, even the last base, like the maze effect, is really fun as someone looking at these bases. It makes it really fun to have no clue what's coming next. I have no clue where I'm going. I have no clue where the path is leading me, what might be in that base. So I think the exploration side of this, in terms of layout, is exactly what you kind of hope for in terms of a treehouse or rosebush base. I think that's a really successful, fun way to kind of get around this whole thing. You can even kind of take shortcuts in between things depending on how you feel like doing it. But it really does a good job of just wandering and being crazy and fun. It's really fun to explore. I think you've done a great job on the layout and interior. There's very little I would change. And I'm sure it makes more sense when you laid it out and you designed it. And you're not seeing it for the first time necessarily. But the fact that like each level of this has like a different little sports court, one on top of each other as well, like it's really fun to explore. Really, really clever ideas, and the chaos side of it, which maybe is too much for some people, but also incredibly fun just to see. Oh, and then this is the bird you're talking about, I'm assuming, right? Just sit up here and ride my bird out. Yes. I didn't fail. Yeah, super fun build, man. Yeah, even like the layout and the interior of all of this as well. Just, I love how much fun you're having. Pure, unadulterated fun. The materials and exterior, a little harder to grade on this one, because it is kind of every space is its own design, so it's not really one cohesive design, but it's many different designs all in one, which I think is a different and fun way to build than maybe I typically think of things, but it's a good way for other people to kind of see how you can successfully use a lot of different ideas between the area as a whole. I think it's really interesting to see. I wish my brain could think like this. I always say that. I've never been quite this good at connecting random spaces this interestingly. Makes for really cool exploration and just showing it off. Having new features come up everywhere you look. And each layer is sort of its own thing. Man, the score of stuff like this for the materials and exterior is really difficult. I think to play it on the safe side maybe is I'd probably give you like an 8 on it. Of course, there's always things that everyone can improve upon. I think there are elements where maybe I wish there was a little bit more continuity between the different materials used, but I also I do genuinely enjoy how every space is its own, and they all feel very unique. They have their own designs going on, and you've done a good job with each individual space. Could be something where maybe just some of these spaces maybe get a little bit more continuity between them, but it also isn't necessarily not working because of that by any means. So as I always say, take that with a grain of sand, that my aesthetic style is not the only aesthetic style, of course. And I genuinely love seeing just the crazy amounts of stuff you have going on here. The structure of it. More of an interesting structural one, because I think part of the point is that it's not structural. It is just a treehouse connected however it's connected, and the structure itself is the plants, and I think you've done a really good job building up and around these things, like building with this here on top of the fact that you've got like so much other stuff going is really difficult to integrate these things into a base and not have them just completely get in your way. So I think that's a really successful use of structure. And as I had kind of alluded to a bit earlier, I'm typically not a fan of just using individual pillars stacked on top of each other. They often just it looks too thin and weak to really hold this stuff up, so visually it can kind of ruin the illusion of structure. But in this sense, it does really feel appropriate. You don't really have... if these were green, I would say like you knocked it out of the park, because they are the closest thing that you could use to sort of replicate the idea of the stems of the plants themselves. They have a very similar kind of texture to them, just kind of like a shiny, simple texture. It doesn't have a whole lot going on. So in terms of like the best options you had with the material palettes that were allowed at this current point in the game, I think they actually do work pretty well. Maybe some of the points where you're switching between these sort of is maybe where I would slightly change things. I kind of enjoy seeing these and only these, because like especially when you start melding them with this kind of stuff, it really starts working visually. And like continuing that, maybe that illusion is lost a little bit using the square, the quarter foundation pieces. They definitely work, and it might look worse using the clay pillars versus these. So I assume that you probably did this for a very specific reason, because it doesn't necessarily not work by any means. But I do really like seeing like these almost start. If you're not looking at this part of the stem, like it starts looking like these things are actually growing out of it, and it's just more of like a dead stem of a plant. But as in terms of what we have to use at this moment in time in the game, like I'm not sure you really could have done much better. Like, I think it fits really well. It's visually interesting. It creates an interesting cohesive build, and you get this sort of crazy lower level that's wandering through it, and it feels a lot more bare without all of these, but the amount of these that you've added starts adding its own sort of natural feel to it, where it allows for visually, it looks more like the bottom of a really kind of dense bush, and so it aesthetically does really kind of help fill in those gaps and make this place look way more interesting than it actually is. Because it's much more open and stuff than it would originally appear. So I'd probably have to give you like a 9 on the structural side of it. I think it's a clever usage of these pieces, and you could very easily have just tried to go with like the stem ones, and they maybe would not have been as visually appealing as what you've done here. But I think it looks really cool. It's a good mix. It's chaos, and the hard thing is like legitimately connecting all these things. But you've made it work. I think you've done a really good job making the structural side of this work, and everything kind of flows. Now, it gets a little crazy when you have the massive portions up on top, but it also is really fun to like visually stand down here and look all the way up to the top. And the functionality side of it, a little bit more difficult because it's not your kind of standard base. The treehouse bases I tend to think are the hardest to make really functional. You have all the functional elements and stuff. You're not missing anything. You have chest areas, you have stuff. The hard part about these is that it's really spread out. So I could see some difficulty in the build process of the whole thing. Just because there's so much going on and you need so many materials back here. Without like massive stem and grass depots and like really big storage areas, it can definitely be really difficult, but you've obviously made it all work. So no matter what I say about it, it's obviously worked because you've built the whole thing out like this. So it can't necessarily work, can't necessarily be so bad that it isn't functional. It's obviously functioning at a level where you're able to build an insane amount of builds in a relatively small area. But maybe one thing you could try doing is changing one of these spaces to be a little bit more of a functional base portion of it. Maybe one of these kind of more slightly less utilized rooms, potentially. But at the same time, it may work better to spread it out at the end of the day anyways. That way, no matter where you are, or maybe creating one kind of repeated room throughout everywhere where you can kind of store a handful of materials so you can kind of just build anywhere and everywhere. That's oftentimes, once I start getting to the massive side of builds like this, I try to find ways to make it so I can build anywhere at any time without necessarily having to like run all the way to the top of something to get one specific material, then run it all the way back over to the other side. But again, I'm not the one building with this base, so my opinion only means so much on that. It's just one thing I try to like focus on a little bit here and there with the bigger builds, especially when you start getting into this scale. But overall, it works pretty dang well. The theme and continuity of it, in terms of like materials, there's maybe less continuity to it, but the theme of it, I think, really reads well. It feels like the closest interpretation to a treehouse village that you could get, and we've seen a couple of those designs, and I enjoy that you decided not to just use spiral staircases every 20 feet or whatever to get up. You've utilized a really fun kind of path network to just randomly run through here. It feels like it's straight out of like Star Wars and like the Ewok treehouse type village that they have. And the way you've connected it just kind of further enforces that concept. So I think that's really well done. It makes it very, very visually appealing, even though all the different spaces are kind of unique and individual in their own way. It works really well in that sense. An Ewok with a W there, Ducky. But I think there could be some elements that maybe you could repeat some of these smaller buildings. I like these a little bit more than the full grass ones, but I don't necessarily know if there's like a reason why you've done some of this in stem and then the other half of it in grass and stuff. That'd be one way to maybe potentially just increase the continuity of it, is kind of have some of these elements tie in just a little bit more. But at the same time, like having each one be unique, like each section of this kind of is a different like faction or like designer of these different spaces with it, that doesn't necessarily read poorly by any means. Everything doesn't have to be like a one-to-one match to make it read the way I'm kind of talking about. I think having things switch up is also a valid way of messing with it at the same time. But it does get a little bit with like clay foundations and stuff being at the bottom and the top. I kind of would like to see maybe just a random thing, not necessarily that you have to go redo everything, but similar to kind of how you did these designs, it almost would be cool to see some of the more stem designs of these bridges on these lower sections, and then as you get higher and higher, could be an interesting thing to look at. Maybe keep these aesthetics, the more heavy ones near the bottom of the base, and then as you get higher and higher, you start to utilize like more grass, more of these kind of airy, flowy pathways, and that would kind of create this like heavy to light aesthetic, which could be really interesting. Just something to kind of mess with as you keep adding more and more to this. Definitely don't feel like you have to go back and do that whole thing, but it would create a little bit more continuity to kind of, and still allow you to switch between all the different materials and the different designs for all these different like rooms that you've got built out here. Just a slight interesting way to visually think about like a theme, an overall theme of how you can still utilize multiple materials, but it kind of the way you layer those materials from the bottom of the base to the top of it is potentially an option for creating a little bit more continuity between the whole thing. But each individual space feels really, really cool. And as you can see, just me running around like a goofball, just having fun seeing everything over and over again. That even continuity, the overall creativity, easy 9 on this one. Again, I'm really strict with the 10s on these. It's got to be absolute perfection. Nothing I can even say or do to get a 10. So a 9 is honestly impressive. The guillotine designs, the futsal and basketball courts, the AMC theater, the little like random spots, like you've obviously have a ton of creativity in how you think through these different spaces, and the ability to come up with all these random spaces and ideas and then still find a way to connect them all to each other is pretty freaking cool. I think you've done a really good job on the creativity, and the potential is, again, probably another 9. Like, it's just one of those things. You have so much going on. You have so many interesting ideas that you can work from here, that as soon as we get more materials and like more stuff you can mess with, I'm really interested to see what you could do to keep adding to this space, or do you potentially go build in another cool space? I can tell that the future is bright in many ways. Here, you have a lot of interesting ideas that you've just got kind of found a way to meld them all together. And the use of lighting, again, another really cool aspect of the whole thing, like circling out these ponds and like the high and low areas. It feels very natural for how massive the space is. It's kind of amazing how you can look at this, and a lot of the details between these things sort of just blend in. You won't, at first glance, you don't necessarily notice the grass in the backgrounds, and then you get like little peeks at other cool features. It's a really, really well done little base. Not little, it's huge. Really well done base overall. And like the diving board to jump into the little pond and stuff. Like, yeah, you're having a lot of fun with it, man. I think you've done a very good job overall. Tons of potential, tons of interesting ideas here. Really, really cool. You want the whole rose garden, both sides? Yeah, I'm excited to see what you do with the other side, because this is, and if you manage to like connect them somehow, it'd be even more insane. Even the theming, like turrets and roses, your play on guns and roses with the turrets instead of guns, and you like, it's a perfect fit. Like the theme of the whole thing is really cool. It's a really interesting take on it. But thank you so much, Knowledge. Appreciate you letting us look at this one. Thank you. Really cool designs, really interesting ideas. Excited to see where it goes. Really excited to see where the whole thing goes. Welcome to the jungle. Right, YouTube chat. Just Jamel. Yeah. There's 30 people in YouTube, so, you know. You guys are crazy. This stuff. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for letting us look at that one. Very, very cool. We need more puddles to build around. Yeah, I really like that look. Okay, next up is Peasant. Another fun little city one. It's poppin'. They added something like water into grounded too. It'd be really cool. Dude, if they found a way to do that, it'd be insane. Frostbit, I have missed you in here. I saw your streak that you called out. Appreciate you coming in, hanging out. The real party is on YouTube. For some reason, I thought Twitch would be popping. Twitch is hard. Twitch is very difficult to get people on. Should be starting on this base before I show the whole thing off. Self, do not fall to my death. I have no health. Yeah, not sure if Peasant is here or not. But I know they were very excited to show off this bit. Start. Water's cool in games, but the underwater fighting sucks. It's like you're drunk fighting. Yeah. I'm honestly kind of happy that's why Enshrouded just did water where there's no combat underneath. It always felt a little lackluster in Grounded 1 being in the pond, so I'm hoping that they find a more interesting way to add the water space. But we're also getting like watery bases and stuff, so it might be really interesting. Could be really, really cool. I have no idea where I should start here. Another like full-on like town or village build. Sneak peek of this base. It's really cool. Yeah, it's... You guys are gonna be excited. The night's bases are really interesting. Super unique. I have no clue the best place to start. Guess you kind of just have to pick a spot and decide then. Let's start... Not on the house. Let's start on the village. Oh, crap, I'm dead. Died. Please be a bed. Yes. Except now we're all the way at the top of the base. It's good, because I probably would have done that at some point anyway. Get it out of the way. Now I'm full health. It's all part of the plan. Okay. Wow. This is cool. Alright, we're going to start kind of off the base, and then we'll get into it. Definitely use YouTube way more than Twitch, but don't recall ever watching a gaming stream on YouTube. Dude, honestly, I'm amazed. YouTube is exponentially better. I tend to watch on Twitch as well, but I'm amazed. Like, YouTube viewership is so much better than Twitch ever is. This is about what my average is. We're between 10 and 20 on Twitch and between 30 and 40 on YouTube typically. But let's get into it.
Let's reestablish homeostasis.
Screen back on. Maybe. Yes. Could you game back? Here we go. Okay. So next up we have Peasant Gamer. Base located up here on the kind of like porch deck area of the food truck. Another awesome location. They have utilized pretty much everything in like half of this entire thing. Pretty freaking big. But yeah, another crazy city build. So I guess we just we're gonna start wandering and see what we find. Definitely still a work in progress in some of these areas, so bear with me while I find my way around the whole thing. But also, really interesting little designs. Gotta make sure we don't fall through the bug stables you got going on over here. Fun little designs. More of them over here. Well, these are fun little structures. I like those. Little well design. This is a really cool little well design as well. We'll come back and get into the full base after all of this, but this stuff is all pretty freaking epic too. These are cool little table designs. I actually really like those. We saw a base the last tour Tuesday that utilized these stairs like really interesting ways. So I really like seeing people mess with the different materials in really unique, fun ways. Haven't really seen any tree designs out of the thatch material, but I really like that. Kind of gives a like Dr. Seuss vibe almost, in a really cool. Horton here's the hoop. Here's a hoop style of tree. Water area. Really cool use of all the different, like, love how each building is completely unique to one another. Church design. Very cool. Again, another like central little piece. Very well designed. House with a porch and everything. A little bit of work to do on the insides and stuff, but no worries. Just the outside, where obviously they haven't spent anywhere near as much time out here as they have on the inside of that area. Or a little buggy. I really like the little like petting zoo type areas you got going on here. You can come and check out the different bugs. These are really cool little designs. Love to see people messing with more of these. Freaking epic windmill design as well. This looks really nice. Very cool. Totally different little house design, or like a little barn. Really like how each one of these is like totally unique. Again, another little like bogey barn. These very excited to see people like start messing with the buggy housing stuff. I think it's really interesting. Specifically because we can ride buggies now. Like you actually can put your buggies in these like stalls and keep them there, which is a fun little aspect of it. Really cool. And this is just the outside area that's still being worked on. The main base yet. Freaking crazy. Hey. Well, got your like walls that go around the entire exterior of this base. Pretty crazy. Storage kind of space. You got dummies, everything. Very clean little design. Love the different lighting effects as well. Great job on these like roof ceiling structures. Kind of tying it all together. Like using the your own little
This
custom
counts as
chandeliers.
research, right?
I did a bit of that in Grounded 1. Really liked that as well. Great little designs. More little structures. Oh, and just a snail. Chilling. Good. Like an old Viking village by the sea. Yeah, definitely. Little structure. Whole freaking staircase. Holy cow. Just keeps going. Yeah, I love all your little structures on the outside. It's like lighting areas and stuff, like fire. I'm trying to think of what they'd be called. Bale fire, I guess, something like that. Very well done. Love all the little trees and stuff. Very nice. You have wooden forts we play in playgrounds as a kid. Yeah, it really does. I love those places. Great little details here as well of like how you like space these two out to create just a little bit more depth into it. Those look really very nice little design work. The front gate. He wants in really bad. Yeah, love this like little drawbridge type gate design as well. Very cool. Got all your like functional stuff with all the garden patches and everything, and then look at, dude, fly around view of this. Yeah. As if the other stuff wasn't good enough, like this thing takes it to another freak level. It is really cool. You can get a really good vibe of like how this the city itself, village is being laid out. It looks really wow. Very cool design. I love that you like took my little lamp design as well. Looks really nice with how much you've done. Really, really nice. Like utilizing the different grass pieces as well to add another detail. Very fun. Yeah, the mini triangles as well, but then broken it up really nicely. Kind of have like these like structures on the outside that are all out of stem, so they don't just blend in. They do a really good job like standing out from the whole design. Very cool. You can up them as well. They're not just visual, they actually work, which I always love to see. Very, very cool. Let's see. Nice little viewing area to look out over everything. Love that they actually function as well. They're not there. Actually get up and down them and everything. Yeah, really good job on the entrance. Very, very cool. Right. You got your own little like throne you built out here with a bed, which is super unique. Grand hall type seating and everything. Bugs in the back. Not expecting to hide here. Very interesting. I definitely like how you've broken these up and didn't just use big pieces. But you broke them all up with the triangles. That's a really... Two collectors. Little pergola type design out here. This is super clean as well. Again, really like these just mini structures kind of tossed in. Really nice. Just enough like of your own tree designs as well to just break it up, since kind of the one thing I typically say about building in a big flat spot like this is you really miss out on the natural environment, but when you kind of build in your own little tree designs and stuff, it kind of helps bring it to life and make it feel a little bit more integrated into the map itself. I love to see. These look really nice. Really nice little detail. Up to the top and big bridge that goes up and over. Yeah, very cool designs there after that. Love the structural design here as well. It ties in really nice with everything you've kind of detailed out already. And then again, as I've said, not a huge fan of the the pillars in general just by themselves, but when you add a little bit to them, it just really helps break them up. Yeah, really, really like that. It's a simple thing, but it really adds a lot of detail. Here, check out upstairs. Okay, you got, wow, I can't even really tell what's down there from. Like that. All your function, chests, grinders, all the things, crafting tables. Well, really like the way you've kind of utilized the stem scaffolding along with the clover roofs. They tie in really nicely since they're both using kind of the white and brown sides of all that. Really nice. Throne room, and you've created your own backdrop as well by using sign frames and the colors on them. Great little balcony space as well. Great lighting as well. Again, another like the chandelier up here is really well done. Even checkered flooring as well. Yeah, man, this is really cool. Very, very cool. I was looking out. You got a full kitchen built in here with an island. Very cool. Still have to go up. Full on covered bed up here. God, my wife loves covered beds like this. absolutely die for that. Fun little, another little like balcony design as well, so you can look out to the sides. Storage, more crafting type spaces. Really well done. 4 balconies. Viewing areas. You Antis up here. Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool, Peasant. This is really unique. Again, I keep saying little. It's none of these. You guys are just keep building bigger and bigger. Very impressive. Well, I think that is just about everything, unless we went up to the bridge up top, but I've not necessarily. Get a pretty good glimpse of it from the outside, but let's just jump right into the grading here. First impressions, honestly, very impressive build. I think just all the little details that sort of come out of nowhere that you're not necessarily expecting, just the village alone is a really good build on a really fun scale. Like, you've got so many unique little designs between each building and stuff. Seeing the whole base, like seeing everything as a whole though, is like probably an easy 9 on the first impressions. It just looks so good. It feels like a very cohesive build. You have a lot of interesting little pieces going on, a lot of just fun, creative little ideas. You're even like replicating some of these little elements, so they all kind of give, I think as someone had said, gives off that like Viking village style, which I think looks really nice. And unique little details I don't think we've really seen before, but very like Viking village between all of these different designs. Gives some really interesting ideas for some smaller builds that I think people are going to really, really like. Yeah, very, very cool. And especially because we just kind of like randomly hopped into this, honestly, but I think it ended up being perfect, where you kind of saw the fun little builds and then you got into like the massive build right at the end. Very fun to explore as well. Really interesting designs and everything. The layout and interior give you an 8 on the layout and interior. Of course, there's a lot of work to still be done. Like, it's obviously still a work in progress. Kind of filling out all of this stuff, kind of connecting these two a little bit more. But very fun to explore. Got a nice kind of like linear design where you kind of can go straight in, then all the way to the back. Big bridges, the towers and everything. Easy to get through everything. Overall, it just kind of worked. There's not a whole lot, I would say, in terms of like improvements on the layout or interiors and stuff, but just continue finishing them. Finish out the interiors of each of these buildings, because they're all super interesting to look at. And I'm very excited to see like this amount of detail with the flooring and all done, covering this whole thing kind of as you've got it. The start of it, of course, over here, but gonna be very interesting to see these things like fully finished out. Are you gonna build like all the way over there? Very interesting. Lots of potential in this. The materials and exterior, I think you've absolutely knocked it out of the park on the materials in the exterior. Not only is the city fun to walk through, the buildings are, even though you've only got like one grid going on between all of this, I believe maybe these are on a slightly different grid. Yeah, they are. But in terms of just buildings, that at least these are all on the same grid, there's a nice flow in between them, space them out nicely. There's a lot of like rhyme and reason to why like all of this is laid out very nicely. Have this like main thoroughfare right through the center visually that leads up to the big base, and of course the exterior of this base is very, very well done. Maybe for some people a little bit too much of the kind of chevron style going on, but I really like it. I enjoy that you took sort of these vertical elements to kind of ground the middle of this within and kind of frame it really nicely. And even like copying these little things, although each one of these is so kind of unique and distinct the way they're all laid out and designed, they all have just those little elements that I really try like harping about when I'm talking about creating cities and stuff. Although this and this have some very small elements kind of tied into it. They feel so unique in between them, but they're just visually enough connected by keeping these little like roof elements, using a little bit of these details. But even so, like these all fit in here very well at the same time. Even though this one's not using any of the like thatch pine design, it still feels like, because it's using some of these little elements, it all feels very cohesive. I think that's one of the more difficult things to do with these like city or village type designs. So I think you've done a really good job on the whole materials and exterior. The structural side of it, not a ton to necessarily talk about on the structure, since everything's kind of on the ground, so everything feels very realistic. It's not over the top. Everything makes total sense, but like structurally with the towers and stuff, I think they really add to the aesthetic of the entire build. So I think you've done a really good job there as well. So I'd probably give you like an 8 out of 10. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing absolutely insane on the structural side. It just feels natural in many ways, which is, when you're looking at bases, you typically don't want to see the structure and be like, oh, there it is, that's the structure. It can often kind of deter from the overall kind of visual aesthetic of the build. But I think you've done just enough to like raise this up with the foundations and stuff. You've got really nice balconies as well. Like nothing's like sticking out really far and kind of ruins that illusion of like realistic buildings. But they all have just enough like inside, outside space, the fun little ways you're kind of starting to mess with structure, the bridge structural type elements, wall around the whole thing. It fits, it's cohesive. Where you've used some of the structural pieces, I think you've done a really good job with these little elements here on the back side of there as well. I think is really well done. So it works really well. There's not a whole lot I can tell you to do differently. I think you've got a good mix of structure where you need it, not too much to kind of deter or take away from the overall visuals of the base. But you've also had moments where, like, structurally, this feels very realistic. These are really, like, interestingly designed. You've got the fun colors going up and down them. I think you've done a very good job with all of that. And then the functionality of it, again, another base. It functions. It works as it needs to. Sort of main base here stores everything that it needs to store. Not super spread out or anything. You can come up. You got plenty of chests, room for more chests. Of course, you could continue adding if you really needed to. Like, you've given yourself enough room to work with that I can't really grade you poorly or anything for the function of it, because it kind of seems like it all just works the way it needs to. You don't have everything spread out too far, which I think is typically the trap it's hard not to fall into when you're building like a village like this or a town. It's really easy to start really spreading these things out and having a main crafting space way on one side and then you can't reach the other side. But you've kind of tied the material gathering, like garden patches, or visually working with the base. They add to it to create sort of this like forest type colonnade vibe with mushrooms. So you have all the different things you need here if you wanted to farm your own materials, but they add to the visuals overall. I'd probably give you just a flat 8 on the function of it. Everything works. You're starting to really tie these elements into the design, which I think is what starts like setting that sort of stuff apart, where they're not just, here's the function in the base, the crafting tables, the spinning wheels, the grinders, dew collectors, all of that different stuff, jerky racks. And it's finding unique, interesting ways to like visually tie them in. So they're more than just function, is how you start getting like 8, 9s, and 10s on the functional side, but everything does what it needs to do. So it's exactly what you would want in terms of the function of it overall. Then the theme and continuity, I think you're doing a really good job on the theme of this and the continuity of it. One of the harder things to do with these kind of city vibe or town vibes is finding ways that each build looks unique. They're all different. They're not kind of cookie cutter over and over and over again. Again, every single thing in this town is completely different from one another. None of them are using all the same materials. You've got a stem build, a pebble foundation build, more of a clover build. You've got the stem mixed with the thatch and pine, like more here. Like each one is uniquely an individual, but as a whole, you've done a really good job tying each one together. And although like this thing obviously stands out as the centerpiece of it, everything sort of builds off of what you've done here, which I think is where it's most successful. I think that's one of the hardest things to do, really. It is very difficult to create every building being its own unique design, but somehow still having everything kind of read as one, which I think is really well done. It's a difficult task that I think a lot of people have kind of struggled with. Really easy to just tunnel vision and design each building individually, and then kind of look up a couple and 100 hours later and be like, ooh, each one of these does not read as part of a whole. And that's what I typically try to harp on or teach about when I'm talking about more town village designs like this. I think you've done a really good job. They all read as sort of like a Viking style design overall. You got little long houses, you got your own like interesting designs. I could see this church being in a Viking village, and then you've got this like a massive kind of hall, which is big, over the top, more fun designs, which is, I think, very reminiscent of like a Viking style town in many ways. You kind of typically have one larger build and then a lot of houses that take some of those elements. But I think, again, great job on the theme and continuity of it. Very little I can say overall in terms of how I would make adjustments and change this, because I think it ties together really well. Of course, just keep going, and it'll only, the more you add to it, the more design that comes into the this portion of the like the housing and farming district kind of area. The more you add and the more details, the more stuff like this you get in, it just gets better and better every time. So I think you've done a really good job on that. The overall creativity, again, probably have to give you a 9 on that. I think it's really creative. There's a lot of fun ideas. You've got like the pergola, the structural pieces on the backside there. The overall like elevation of this side of the building is super interesting, but it looks good from every angle. You didn't just think of it in one way. Tying these little elements in, adding in little stuff like that. The creativity of all these little things. The buggy stalls, I think, are super cool, like super fun little things that just each buggy stall is sort of slightly different from one another. Gush got like a looking at this now is like that's your little graveyard as well. Didn't even quite notice that at first, but yeah, again, creativity, you're absolutely killing it. Just keep going. It honestly, that's all this needs, is to keep going. It is really, really cool. I really want to see the level of detail that you have on this side start coming together on this, and sort of enclosing this whole thing or building it out further, just more of it. It's when it's, you know, it's good when my only advice is keep going, keep building more, just finish. Just don't stop. And the potential, again, I think it's another 8 on potential. Again, sort of an arbitrary grading point in general, just because every base has a lot of potential, but I think you've done a really good job setting yourself up for expanding, especially as we get more materials and more decor items. There's a lot you could still do here. A lot of interesting ideas that you could kind of continue adding more of these little things all throughout here, this area. You have room to expand a bunch of this as you get more inspiration and stuff. But yeah, lots of potential, lots of interesting designs going on. Overall, really, really cool build, Peasant. Really cool build. Even like these little things, like I'm not even totally sure what these are going to be yet, but they're already visually interesting to me. Yeah, once again, Peasant, thank you for letting us review this one. Really, really cool build. A lot of interesting little ideas going on here. I think a lot of people that are looking for like builds on smaller structures would really take a lot of inspiration from just the different ways you've made little structures. can oftentimes be really difficult to design, eat so many different little structures, but still have them kind of end up as one cohesive build. It's a difficult task, very difficult task. But thank you again, Peasant Gamer. Really appreciate you letting us look at this one. Again, so cool. Cannot wait to see how you continue building on it and how it keeps going. But very, very well done. Dude, another crazy base, you guys. So freaking cool. Love how we've seen like multiple like village type town builds and everyone tonight completely different. Hopper top. Let's see. All right. Always impressive. Club.
Way less scary from up here.
What? What just happened? Okay. I just got on the buggy and instantaneously teleported to some random place and died. But now I'm in the base I think I'm supposed to be in. That's good. It worked out in our favor. Pretty far away, I think. Creativity impressive, especially with the limited amount of stuff to work with. Yeah, I think that's... As the person who gets to see these bases like every single week, week in, week out, I get a healthy appreciation for how difficult it is to have so many base reviews, and I have yet to say 2 of them are the same. Even the bases that are in the same locations, the bases that are all using the same materials, like every single one of them is so unique in its own way. It's really impressive, honestly, to see everyone coming up with so many unique ways to kind of combine the limited resources we have together to somehow create so many unique designs with so little to work with. We have a decent amount of materials, but I mean, compared to the first game, it's just nowhere near the amount of options. Which makes it even more impressive, honestly. All right, give me about 30 seconds. I'm gonna go bathroom fast, and I will be right back, and we'll get right into the next one. Real quick break. We're back. Had to, as another creator always says, I had to go and refill the legs and stretch the water. And yes, I meant to say it that way. I have to start doing like stretching sessions, or maybe use my sit stand desk one of these. Send that to the devs. I'm assuming you clipped me jumping onto the buggy. Just randomly teleporting. Pretty sure the buggy was somewhere over here. Then we teleported and like blew up and died. I don't even really know what happened. Love finding new glue. Yep, I know it's black. I'm working on it. Takes a minute to load for some reason. My camera looks perfect, but I don't know. Hello? Please, OBS? Turn the scene on. There we go. Jeez. Okay. Okay. So, next up we have Hopper Tops. And base here located in this kind of starting area right next to the ranger station right as you get out of the starting location. Always a good spot, but a slightly bigger one than we've potentially seen before. A lot going on. Knowledge, how's it going? Yep, little storage crafting area, sorry. Fun little design, what's it? Tunnel? Cool little tunnel as well. Get up over here. Well, fun little bridge that. On up here. Bridge over this spot. And another fun use of the lanterns we've all been messing with, creating. Nicely kind of spaced out. I really enjoy seeing these things kind of like framing the different areas to get into a base. It's very easy to tell what you're doing. Very fun little throne space. Leave me alone. You know this area very well. Yeah, I think it's luckily one of those spots that everyone kind of knows. But a fun little take on it. This is a really cool little build you got going here. I like that you have placed these on their own grid to get them to be their own angle as well. Looks really nice. Little throne room design, of course not done necessarily, but fun little way to build down into this. Well, and I like the use of like framing out that we don't have a whole lot of water in the game yet, but I always really enjoy seeing people kind of integrating it into their builds as well. Nice. You're a rookie over here with a starter mindset? Yeah, I wouldn't say this one feels quite like a rookie build. Got a lot of interesting things. Could go that way. I think we're going to go down this way. Get to this other one. I would say I think this is more meant to be the main entrance, so we'll head in this one. Another kind of like village town design as well. I'm a huge fan of. Really like seeing you guys mess with these. And the like tiered garden patch area is really well done. Looks very nice. Even you showed off all the original tools from back in the day before we had the Omni tool. Looks very nice. Yes, I got that knowledge. Thank you for changing your name. I appreciate it. Makes it way easier. Really nice gate here. Love the way you designed this out. Very fun. Hut you can come over and chill in as well. Another good tree design. You guys are way better at building these trees than I am. I need to start practicing. Not good at building trees for some reason. Another nice little building. I like the entrance as well. Got your little armory space chilling here. Good use of lighting and everything. Nice and clean. Does it look like we can get up there? So if your grass didn't regrow, nice little basketball court here as well with like stadium seating. Good. And I like your tree design. Oh, very cool. I feel like there's a way to get up there, but I don't even notice the cross up top. Very well done. Very cool. Oh wow, this goes like all the way up there. That's why. Too fast, too furious. Fun little design with the dew collector up there for like a kind of a window, stained glass kind of design. It's very cool. Very nice. Assuming all these things started growing back as of like the last update too. I assume none of this grass is normally. Unfortunately, the way the game's working right now, you kind of just have to deal. Crafting space. Too crazy. So many things. Start over here. Like this area is kind of another little work in progress space. Well, nothing wrong with that though. Very interested to see what you put here. Not sure what you're doing with these angled walls, but I'm intrigued. Very intrigued. More tiered gardens as well. Viewing platform you can come and hang out on. Jump to your landing pad. Very cool. For this one first. Can't quite tell. Again, just a little tunnel through here, but I do enjoy how much you put into creating this little tunnel. It looks very nice. Very clean. I like this like staircase that kind of funnels you into it. Looks very nice. Very simple little design, but it does look really. Uh-oh. Oh. Saw anything. Worked perfect. No. But I don't think he got it either, Ducky. Waiting for him. Dude, how much artwork is in the game? I have not looked at any of this. I need to start using the artwork in Grounded 2 is already off to a great. Really like these like random little scenes. There's a lot of cool details. There's room areas here. Nice, you got the egg storage to clip into the roofs as well. The Nile's special. Like that is a great little detail once you start adding more to it and stuff. Very nice. Nice little flower that's clipped into there. Always love those little details. Back to, I think, the last build. Gosh dang. First is starting my time. Yeah, and this goes straight into the Ominate facility, or the ranger station. Great little spot to build a nice little base to kind of cover that up, but still allow you to get to that piece very well. Every time you go to bed, the door opens. Creates a nice little draft under your bed, I'm guessing. Balcony space. Rooms. Water collection. I think that is everything. Think we missed anything? Yeah, great little build so far. So we'll just jump right into the grading. The first impressions, I think I'd give you a 7 on it. I think you've done a really good job. There's a lot of interesting elements going on. I like the way that you've kind of created all these like little fun entrances. Like that's something I've noticed in this area, that it really does feel like there's a lot of different ways you could build through here. These kind of natural gullies and stuff. And so the fact that you've kind of keyed into the idea that each of these becomes a little like entrance to the base, I think looks really nice. Creates a very cool like fortress feeling to it, but then also kind of adding in these like crazy fun designs on the outside that you're obviously kind of still expanding. Even like building some of these structures as well up here, like slowly expanding and building all sorts of different things, I think is really cool. But I think you've utilized the space that you've got going on here in a nice way, where you didn't just build right in front of the ranger station and then kind of moved on. I like that you kind of encapsulated this whole area into one base, which, at least my perspective or view on that, is every time I've seen this area, it feels like there needs to be a whole village here. But I think you've saw the vision and you've executed it well. The layout and interiors, I think we could work a little bit on the layout interiors. Obviously, still a work in progress, so take what I say with a grain of salt. I think you've got a great start. You've got like some interesting elements that you're obviously having fun with. There's a lot of fun little creative things going on, but I think the interiors could still use a little bit of work. I think where you've got stuff kind of figured out, I mean, obviously weapons to get up there, but the elements that you've designed out and you've put effort and time into building these spaces out, I think these look really nice. But I think some of these spaces could be utilized a little bit more. I do like the spider behind the dew collectors there, and it does create a nice little effect. But I also could see this being like remove the spider, since the effect's lost a little bit behind the dew collector. And you could create a really cool, like really high kind of vaulted type ceiling space in here. You could have like a chandelier coming down, a little bit more lighting, bringing the level of design of these spaces kind of all throughout this. Whereas like this kind of currently feels like there's maybe a little bit of wasted space. I think it's accomplishing what you want on the exterior of it, but the inside just leaves a little bit to be desired. Not at all in a bad way necessarily, but there's just a little bit more that you could do with it. If we're thinking of like the interior and layout as like all of this stuff, I think you've done a really good job on these like tiered garden spaces, starting to tie these spaces together. I know it costs 10 trillion pebbles to build these, the little pebble paths, but I think where you've started utilizing those in terms of the layout, like this specific area, I think they work really well. I think it's a lot of fun, especially like with these areas as well. Sort of in between exterior and interior, but I like the feeling and the vibe that you're giving off here, these different spots, since I think there's a lot of potential, and I think you can continue expanding upon the interiors, but just bump up the amount of materials or the decoration items and stuff in some of these spaces, and they'll really start coming to life. Similarly to how you've done the outside. I think the insides could use a little bit more of that detail. Again, these spaces, I think they work. They're laid out nicely, connected very well to the ranger station, so they work for sure. But I think that'd be one place where you could start to kind of really make sure that this amount of detail is starting to get into like all these different base locations. Like this could use a little bit more. I think you'd have more fun with the inside of this, but then the spaces where you've spent a lot of time, I think, look really good, and it's effective the way you've done it. The materials and exterior, I think you've done a really good job. I mean, I like that this is a kind of town or a village all in this little area. And I think the exteriors, you've done quite a good job. I'd give you probably an 8 on the exteriors, just because there's still a lot of work to be done. You're still working through this whole thing. And I'm interested to see where you go, because I think you've had fun. I like your use of multiple materials in these spaces. Right? I think the grass and the pine start working together really well. Your use of lighting is pretty interesting. The grass crosses that are used in the little throne area are both kind of good visual elements that tie the spaces together, I think, very well. And the trees are really well designed. I do really like the exterior of this building and like how many gaps and big areas you've left open. Yeah, even like these little designs, having fun with the scorpion hiding in there as well. Really like this little structure. It's very simple, but just elegant, looks very nice. Got a good mix of materials, again, like utilizing the sturdy windows versus just regular grass windows. Or using these windows along with the stem specifically kind of really helps tie it together. It tends to be one of my least favorite combinations is stem and grass, but because you have to do a really good job tying them together or they just feel too opposite to work. But I think the places that you've used them, they do work really nice. I'm a fan of the little details and absolutely love the little tunnels, the bridge that you made. I think those all work really well. And again, even if this is just considered an exterior, the like moodiness, the vibe of this area is very cool. Yeah, very excited to see. Of course, lots of random things to keep building and stuff, but I think a lot of really interesting ideas that you can keep expanding upon. In terms of the structure, let's see, let's get in here a little bit. And not a whole lot. Again, another one where it's the structure is not maybe the focus of it, so it's a little bit harder to grade specifically on what you're doing with the structure, but it doesn't deter from any part of the base. I think you've done a good job creating the like large wall around the exterior, kind of creating the fortress vibe of the whole thing, which I think works really well. Even like having the bridge, it creates a really nice little area. Yeah, I really like how these kind of are all connected into each other and stuff. And the bridge is a great structural design piece. The elements where you've kind of connected these as well, they worked good together. So I'd probably just give you an 8 on the structure side of it. Not a whole lot structurally to talk about, but you've also kind of utilized the natural environment really well in these areas, which kind of adds to that in many ways. You can't really tell that there's a kind of a route that arches over this space. The way you've tied it in really naturally, I think it works quite well. But yeah, but like some of these spaces, like this thing is where I would say maybe the structure falls a little short. This is where I tend to say I'm not the biggest fan of just using the pillars on their own. They tend to want maybe a little bit more to them. Luckily, what you've made here is sort of a lighter feeling structure, so you're not using like pebble foundations and clay, which feel very heavy. You've done a good job using the grass and the stem to make this feel very light, so it doesn't feel like it's overbearing on these smaller structural pieces. But I could also see maybe a more standard structure similar to like how the last base was made, where you could like wrap these things, start adding some lighting into them, and really start making the structural aspects of these like really tall building spaces are slightly more integrated into it, whereas everything else feels like very well attached to the ground. They feel like they work. They're not kind of over the top. Even where you've got like the bigger overhangs, it still tends to create the right like visual effect to where it's not overbearing by any means. I think it just works really well. It does what it needs to do very well without having structural pieces be overbearing on the whole thing. Even just simple uses of scaffolding and stuff. Just enough to get the effect and no more, which I think looks very nice. It creates a very clean aesthetic, so I think good job on that. The functionality of it, again, another hard one to kind of like really say function is I guess the way I like to think of it is how have you integrated the function into the overall design, where it's not just a storage room, it's not just a space where things are stored. They work. I mean, you could integrate some of these pieces in more, whereas like I would consider the function of a base like utilizing garden spaces, having easy access to some of these more needed materials, especially once we get mushroom brick and stuff. You'll need lots of toadstools and all that as well. So having them in your base, and you've done a really good job designing this, I think works quite well. Functionally, the other spaces, they work. They don't deter from anything. If I didn't already say a grade, I need to start grading them beforehand before I start getting into my whole spiel. But I'd probably give the function a 7. It's neither necessarily like an overwhelming visual part of the base, but it's not deterring from anything. It's small enough that your little crafting space here is going to kind of cover all your needs. You have your chests close enough, some of them kind of divided up in these little spaces, but overall with your crafting station kind of centrally located, it works. It's not doing anything negative to the base. It's not necessarily adding a massive amount of design potential to it, though, is kind of where I tend to grade on 8s and 9s and stuff, is where I see those really functional elements becoming a very visual part of the base, which is not always necessary for a good base. It's just kind of that specific grading metric tends to lean that way. To get a higher and higher score on it means you've kind of gone above and beyond, finding a way to integrate the functional pieces into your base that sort of add to the aesthetic and aren't just kind of there, that exist. But it doesn't necessarily mean that anything's wrong with it by any means. The theme and continuity, I think this is where you could potentially kind of bring this whole thing together. I think you have enough built here that you're starting to really mess with really different structures, different materials and stuff. But the only negative thing I see of this, and that's, again, sort of my idea of continuity and how I like to see a village, I tend to think of more of like a European style village that I see is buildings are all different shapes and sizes, but a lot of them tend to kind of follow a rough idea of, is it a material? Like the lower part is one material, the upper part is one material, but you very rarely see something that's like contrasted so much between like this and this. And so each individual piece I think works really well. I think it's a really nice design. I think like the gates are sort of their own nice and unique design. I think the church or cathedral type building is also its own nice kind of unique design. But then where it falls a little bit short for me is kind of how the last base did a really good job of using one small element. Each base had different materials, very similar to yours, very different design aesthetics, but like there was one piece that was like, oh, visually, my brain immediately jumps straight to these things are kind of tied together between one standard sort of style being like a Viking building. So like I tend to think when you start building more villages or towns, builds with multiple buildings within one larger space, trying to find a cohesive element that can be sort of replicated between all of them, but still allow each individual building to sort of be on its own and be its own individual at the same time, tends to create the most visually appealing bases when you start having multiple builds all within one. But I also think you've done a really interesting job at the same time with each one of these. And so the theme of each one of these buildings and like the other space with the throne outside, I think is all really interesting. And now it just kind of comes into like, how can you sort of slightly start tying them together so they start reading as one base, not 4 or 5 different ones. That's just something you can learn over time, building the larger bases and stuff as well. But I think each individual space is quite unique and interesting at the same time. None of them are necessarily bad by any means. They just, my perspective on creating these larger style builds is where the continuity between them, or the theme that kind of drives each individual one, so they all kind of read as one massive build, not just a lot of different builds in a small area. But at the same time, I think each individual design is really interesting at the same time. The overall creativity, I'd give you an 8 on this. I think there are some elements that are like really creative, using the dew collector, the throne room over on that side, the tiered gardens, the entry gate, the trees. I think you've got a lot of interesting things, interesting creative ideas going on, and excited to see more of it. I'm really interested to see kind of what happens in this building, what happens in the in-between spaces that you're kind of working on, how you start connecting pathways in here and adding more details. I think there's a lot of potential with the ideas you have going on, and definitely create some more interesting builds in this area. You definitely have room to continue adding some of these like smaller elements that I think would really fill in the space and look really, really nice. And the potential, again, pretty standard 8. I think you've given yourself a big enough build that you have a lot of room to go and to work with. but you still have some interesting elements that are going to allow you to kind of take the different designs you've had between these different spaces, even like the throne room. Like, you've given yourself a lot of optionality, which I think allows for a lot of potential growth in the future. Whereas if you just build kind of one building, it tends to lack the ability to continue to be expanded upon, especially because I think of the potential is we really haven't even had the first major update in early access. So there's, in theory, you've got another year or two of solid playtime before this game would be fully exhausted, assuming that in a year from the early release date that we go to 1.0, and there could be even more time, and it depends on how much like end game stuff they add, how many more materials. So you have a lot of potential with the space you kind of laid yourself out to continue growing and adding as we get more and more updates and more items. That's what I tend to like to see, is especially with bases that aren't quite finished like this. I think this is a really good spot to be in. You still have a lot of stuff you can build. You're still working through ideas. You haven't necessarily just kind of said, hey, this is done, on to the next one. You've given yourself enough space that you can grow with the updates, which I think is, in my opinion, how I like to play early access, is kind of give myself potential to keep building and keep growing and adding. And that way you can kind of see the evolution of the base from early access to kind of closer to 1.0, and you can kind of see how the items that you used and that came out in the game changed and kind of evolve a base with early access, which could be really fun, seeing like each one of these builds and each one you start adding to in the future and kind of down the road as you get new items could each kind of become their own thing. And maybe that's the way you want it, and each building is different, and it doesn't have to necessarily be like that little element that I'm talking about, and you could still create a compelling, interesting base design overall with each building being separately designed. But I think there's a lot of potential here. I think you have a lot of little interesting ideas, stuff you could grow on, stuff that you could keep kind of pushing to that next level. The throne room area is really interesting. I could see that being like its own whole structure. I think there's a lot of potential for all the little ideas you have going on here. You've got a lot of places you can go and grow with as well. Very good job. Thank you, Copper Tops. Appreciate you letting us look at this one. Another really interesting, cool build. Some new little elements we haven't necessarily seen before. Different take on this area as well, and the kind of way you're just organically growing it, I think, is really interesting. It really does allow for just insane amounts of continued base building as you continue getting more and more updates for the game. So very well done. Thank you once again, Copper Tops. Appreciate you letting us look at this one. Excited to see where it goes. The idea of religion shaping the look of cities and towns, especially in a grounded world, if people just lived being this small and weren't unshrunk, yeah, I think that'd be really interesting. That's kind of, in some ways, how my sandbox build was developed. It's like that idea of religion-ish. Have you missed much? That was our 4th base of the night. So you missed a few, but no worries. No worries at all. Did miss some good bases. Really interesting design. Where are you? Ah. Right, turn off the camera real fast. Load in. Just don't spoil it. Welcome in, Frostbit. By the way, you're doing great. Rebuild. Dude. I was not expecting this many big bases. Kind of crazy. Let's see where I can figure this out. Well, how's the stream? It's going great. Again, always freaking amazed at these bases. They just keep going. Just every week I'm like, all right, this is gonna be the week where there's not as many good designs, or there's little stuff, like not gonna have as much to review, and then every single time I'm just blown away. See these and I wonder why I submitted mine? Nah, it'll be good. I'm confident. But I have been quite impressed, I will say. Everyone's doing some really cool stuff. I think what we want to do is go that way. Sorry. Another kind of meandering base here. A very cool one. I'm just trying to find the best place to start. Hardest part about these bases, I haven't necessarily looked at every single one of them beforehand, so I kind of have to go in completely blind after the first couple. Haven't seen any duds, honestly. All respectable builds, yeah. Like, I'm always waiting every week. Not that there's duds necessarily, but like I'm always like, okay, we've like very, very early on when we first started doing these, we had a couple bases that were just very, very early starter bases, and I do enjoy those ones. I think are really fun in a different sense. Like, I know a lot of people watching the base reviews are all like, I want to see the cool stuff. Like, I want to see the craziest things ever built. And we get some of that for sure with these bases. But I also enjoy the very kind of early starter ones, although they're maybe not as visually interesting to the viewers. For me, part of this is helping people get better at base building. And so the people that have really end game massive bases, it can be a lot harder to give like advice to them. Whereas like the starter base that maybe doesn't have as much design going on, very much is like, okay, I can help this person. So it's, for me, it's fun. Maybe not for viewership, and for the videos, they may not be quite as good, but for me, I still really enjoy them. So it's nice to have a mix. But it seems like at this point, everyone is building such cool bases. It's crazy. They're all super unique and different. You, Ducky? I mean, your first base ever was much more on the like beginner side, but I also got to give you so many more tips than most people. Oh, peasant, you're here. Missed mine, but it's okay. I'll watch the VOD. I fell asleep for too long. Oh, sorry, man. I know we were all talking. Who was it? Who got to see? Chap. Yeah, Chap was saying they had seen a sneak peek of your base. It was really cool, man. Like, really, really cool build. It was really fun. And sorry you missed it, but it was very cool. You let people know when their base will show up? Kind of. I don't really have a great system of it, because the hard part for me is we've gotten through 4 bases so far. We're on our 5th, and we have an hour-ish, 45 minutes to an hour plus of time. So it's always really hard to tell if I'm going to get through 5 bases or 8 bases. And like, these ones are all way big. Like, these are really big bases. But it's kind of hard to let people like later in the stream know that their base may or may not be showing up. Because like, I found myself talking for 30 minutes on some of those, and I'm supposed to only talk for 20 or so. So if it's always hard to like plan necessarily. But if people reach out to me specifically, then I try to let them know roughly when they're going to go. But you had a long day of work and overslept. Yeah. Unfortunately, part of the time. And like time zones for some people is like, yeah, well, that's like 4 in the morning for me, so I won't be there. Part of the difficulty of my specific time zone for most people. I think as we continue doing this, I've been looking. I have so much random stuff going on right now. Life is freaking insane. But in the long run, I would like to give people like a sign-up sheet to work from, that they could do like a Google doc type of thing that they can input answers and give me all their information, and then it shows everyone on the list. That only I can edit, but everyone can still see it. That would be perfect, but I need some time to figure out how to get it set up properly, and so it works for me functionally, because I have all this just for people to see kind of what I'm doing. This is my upper monitor, so I've got everyone's bases, their Discord name, their username, their world name, so everything's organized. Then I've got like, have I reviewed the base? What date did I review the base? And then have I made it a video yet? So it's like a lot of organization that I personally need from this list to keep myself organized so I can keep doing stuff. But haven't quite figured out the right way to allow people to kind of come in and out of it and do everything. But very good. How you liking Grounded 2? I'm absolutely love Grounded 2 so far. Got a kingdom if interested? Yeah, reach out to me on Discord. You can DM me on there or tell me your Xbox username. Or you can send it in like one of the Grounded chats. It's whatever works for you. But you can add me as a friend, and I will add you on Xbox, and you can share the world, and we will get you on the list. But absolutely loving Grounded 2. I am patiently waiting for January. January cannot come fast enough. I need mushroom bricks, like so bad. I've completely stalled out on my own personal builds, which I think is fine, because we've been able to jump into some other building games I've really wanted to add to the channel. I don't want to get stuck just playing Grounded throughout Grounded 2 early access and stuff. So it's worked out really well timing-wise, but I'm also like, I've got like the itch for new materials so we can just go crazy and just keep building cool stuff. But yeah, very fun. Family time runs into your stream most times. I get here when I can, but I miss a lot of the reviews. Yeah, I know the feeling, right? The new update comes out. I'll finish it. Still needs a lot of tweaks. Yeah, I mean, for what you have, it was a really, it's not even a start. You very far along. Your build, Peasant, was very far along. It was really good. I'm really excited to see kind of how you keep going through it. So your builds have gotten so good, not that your first tour was bad or anything, but the more recent ones have showed how much better you are at building. Yeah, I think that's what I've like really enjoyed seeing with like Ducky's re-reviews, and we've done a handful of re-reviews. We've seen people's early stuff. Like, been really cool to see people improving as a community. We're all improving at building. I've seen my stuff get more interesting. Like, you guys are pushing my designs. You're coming up with new ideas. Like, this is the dream of doing these tours, is that we all kind of can grow and get better and better and keep pushing each other as a community. And although we don't have as many materials, the more stuff we get in the game, the more things that everyone has to work with. Like, it just makes everyone's skill level get better and better, and the reviews and the base designs are just as we've seen every night, they somehow get better and better and better every single time. Built most of it when I didn't really have as much building experience, so slowly I've been updating parts of it. That's very common. Very common, Peasant. I did that a ton as well. And you can send some videos of it. Sounds good, Pat. Sounds good. My first time catching reviews, and it makes me want to start playing the game again. Well, this is Grounded 2 as well, G. So like, you haven't even seen, there's 4 major updates in Grounded 1 since you played it, and like since me, you, and the other guys played together on our world. And then, so like, that game is not even, I don't even know if you'd recognize, like, outside of the areas we went to, you would barely recognize some of the stuff in the game. Like, it's really improved. And then with Grounded 2, like, this is everything I ever hoped for in Grounded 1. Was just like, they started with the idea that Grounded 2 is going to be a game that they really push to that next level, and Grounded 1 is still, to this day, outside of like Subnautica and Shrouded, is probably my top 1 or 2 survival games ever. Especially because the building is insane in it too. But yeah, both of the games are incredible, and this game is so new. Grounded 2 is so new in early access that we still have barely seen anything that they have to offer. Would be nice if I was here. Could have sent you pictures of before and after for the stream. That would be very cool. I mean, feel free to send them in the Discord, the Grounded 1 and 2 chat. I'm sure people would really like to see the differences. Okay. So, next up, we have Gantros. This base is kind of a tree base that sprawls all throughout the roots and stuff. It's really, really interesting one here. Already for the entrance, love the use of like the same similar, I guess not same, but a similar lamp style, but then you've like totally changed it to be your own design. I think this looks really, really nice, especially through this like cave area. As a very, very nice little detail here. And then as you can kind of see how big this one's gonna get, got a lot to get through. Loving how big you guys are building. That's maybe one of my biggest things that I try to push people to do is build a little bit bigger than you're comfortable with. It really allows you to, one, build enough that you really get a good idea of the potential in the game. And then it also tends to push you out of maybe your comfort zone a little bit, which I think for people trying to get better at building, getting out of your comfort zone, building a little bit bigger than you maybe thought you should have or you wanted to, it allows you to go just to that next level, which I think is a really positive thing to improve skills in building and stuff as well. Another little entrance. Really like the way you've like tied these different areas together as well through the bridges and everything. Yeah, the before I found Timber's channel and after, love it. It's a good way to sell the channel. Look how much better I got with TimberBuilds community. Not just me, it's just the community as a whole is making everyone better and better. I'm just the vessel. Yeah, really, really liking this lighting and stuff. I know it's a little repetitive running through all the different areas, but I think it looks super nice. And I don't want to mess out on any little ideas you got out here. Well, very cool. Gonna have to see how your PC handles it. Yeah, it's optimized decently well at this point. For early access, it's not bad. Definitely not. Once you start really pushing the build limits in this game, that's when you start to see, I think, a lot of the performance issues, or just in multiplayer in general. But it seems to work pretty good for most people. Yeah, love these lanterns just repeating all over the place. Very cool. Yeah, I'm amazed at how everyone has come up with so many different lantern ideas with the same rough idea, but every single one of them looks slightly different. And then even like bringing them into the build this way as well. I think that looks really nice. A great little way to just add in that kind of similar detailing. Very, very nice. All your armor stands and everything. Again, using the lamps as ceiling lamps now as well. Buggy head mounts and everything. Yeah, I love the lanterns as well. Very cool. Four players on previous version, it was doing fine. Yeah, I don't think you'd be too... I don't think you'll struggle too much with your setup. Your little crafting area and everything here. And I love these in like circular designs. Get out up on the top here. Overlook all the cool lantern designs. Perfect timing for it to become night as well, to see all the lights. Very cool. So go up to the spot. Ooh, go down too? Let's go down first. Wait, I'm a doofus. We did that already. Wait, what's over here? That's one. Okay. Go up. Lost. Again, really like the lamps or like lanterns again. Just continually using them throughout the entire base. Whether it's the floors, the ceilings, looks really nice. Again, to like highlight these the structural pieces instead of using pillars. I think these look really, really nice. Got a little buggy arena, the basketball court with all the bugs up top as well. Again, the floor patterns here, really like how these look. These look really, really nice. Again, continuing. I'm loving the lanterns. Again, I'll say it 100 times. Very nice little detail to continue out throughout this entire base. Especially with how much grass and everything that you've used in the walls, it just kind of continues to help visually tie the whole thing together really, really well. Still go up. Let's go this way first. Love when people make some great builds with grass. I haven't used it much, but love to see it. Yeah, I tend to fall in that same category. I don't use grass a ton because I tend to like the late game materials a little bit more, and I find grass to be a little limiting. But seeing everyone's designs with it has definitely changed my mentality on it a little bit. So I think it can be utilized to a higher degree than I potentially do. Good job on your functional spaces as well. Again, really, really like how you've tied these in with like the roof pieces. This is a really nice detail. Oh. Again, really, really well designed little place. Again, like following this design throughout all the floors to do all the lighting tricks. It just feels very, very well designed, well thought out. Looks like they're over here. Well, yeah, love this area. Yeah, same. I think this looks really, really nice. Very simple, but it just looks great. And again, once again, the use of the angled stairs specifically that allows you to tie these in is just one of those like really nice little details. I don't want to talk about the lamps the entire time, but the way every single space uses them slightly differently, I think it looks really good. Really interesting. Ducky, save the pics. I much prefer seeing them for the first time. Completely green. And dude, this looks incredible. So freaking cool. Again, you've like changed the lamp designs or the lantern designs in every space just slightly, but it works really well. And again, as a structural like lighting piece, these look so freaking nice to like to give you this perfect view out over the whole yard or the whole park. Just looks really nice, and it really does look so good with these elements as well. Perfect spot to place your throne down. And really nice use of all the lighting and everything, even like having those so they shine. Looks really nice. Very cool. Nice little bedroom space over here. Going. Okay, that's where it ends. It's like, this goes around the whole tree. My brain's gonna explode. Like we can get in. Go to this side. Try to do it the right way. Okay. Yeah, really nice to kind of see this space all from above as well. Have the little balcony around it. And then just using the lamps once again as a fun little chandelier effect too as well. Very cool. All right, let's look around. Just double check. I think this was the basketball arena area. All your function, just a bunch of mushrooms planted way out there. Really well. Very cool. You're never a builder. Does this game have any sort of mechanic that gives you any sort of shortcuts for maintaining symmetry, or is it all manual? It's pretty much all manual. Other than blueprints, there's not really anything that allows you to like do layouts and like can't really copy and paste things. You kind of just have to build it all out as you go. I think it's kind of pick a piece and rotate it around, and you just have to do it on both sides. Yeah, it definitely makes the bases more impressive. The blueprint system allows for pretty quick and easy like blueprinting and coming up with ideas, but it also doesn't necessarily help when you want to repeat something 6,000 times. see these little structures at the top here real quick. Very cool. Very, very cool. To update interiors when we get new stuff, but some of these builds make me want to go in right now. Yeah, right? I know. OCD for symmetry would drive me nuts when making large builds. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's definitely a lot of work, but I mean, you can do it, as you can see. Some epic builds. Very cool. All right. We saw everything. Let's get into the grading of this one. First impressions. I think I'm going to have to give you a 9 on this one. The entrance, starting down in the little tunnels and just following these lights all the way up creates a really cool experience. Very fun to see, as I hadn't seen this one beforehand. I haven't looked at it all. And so I really enjoy like walking up through these different pathways, and how you've snaked them through all these different areas, I think is really fun. It's just, you've utilized the space that you were given. Like you picked this space specifically to build your base in, and it is obvious you've utilized every square inch of it to kind of reinforce like the interesting design ideas that you've come up with. You've connected all the spaces really well together. I think the, again, very, very cool. The layout and interior, I think I have to give you I'm stuck between an 8 and a 9, because I think you could push some of the interior decoration just a little bit. I think some of these spaces are still desiring to have more decor items in it, but in terms of like the interior design of it, you've absolutely knocked it out of the park. These floors are freaking awesome. The base is really fun to like walk through. You have all these different spaces connected. Again, taking the lamps from the exterior and using them all over the interior is like, is really, really well done. It creates such a cohesive build, which I think is just really visually fascinating to look at. And every space has lights laid out slightly differently, and you've got them hanging and like attached to the ceiling and the floor with the clay pillars, and then they're just a ceiling here. Like every space uses them in a slightly different way, which really, really creates a cohesive interior design. And then I think that's where I really, really enjoy the insides. But then there are some points where some of the spaces just want a little bit more. I'm kind of, again, nitpicking just a little bit, because I see how much potential you have with your design abilities and how you're like designing these spaces, that I really want to see like these empty spots and what they're going to end up being. That is like the only minimal critique I have in terms of like the way I think of interiors. I think it's like it's really, really cool. It looks really nice. The architectural elements of it are really well done, but then the interior design side of it, in terms of like pieces and the parts that you're using, decor items, the lamps, the chairs, that's where I could feel like this could just be bumped up a little bit more. But at the end of the day, like, the inside's still incredibly visually appealing. So I tend to want to give you, I know I said an 8 or a 9. I probably would lean towards a 9, because I think the architectural elements are so good. And it is really easy to just go throw more decor and more interesting things on the insides of this to kind of bump up the level of detail on the architectural side to match that level. I think you could easily get there with just a little bit of effort and adding more decor items. But like the places that you've got, like you don't even need decor items in this space, and it still feels incredible. So I would say you're definitely headed in the right direction. There are just some little elements of the insides that I think could be bumped up in terms of the detail. But all at the same time, like visually stunning at the same time. At the same time. I'm gonna say it again. Visually stunning. Very cool element. Not enough people kind of repeat elements like this. Repeat the floor pattern as well. Like, these are the elements that really tie this whole base together, where every space feels visually similar without being exactly the same at the same time. But I think you've done a really good job on that side of it. The materials and exterior, again, very similar to like the interior because you took the exterior elements and you have put them all over the interior. So it's, again, probably an easy 9 on the exterior. Tying the inside and the outside together, I think, is one of the more difficult things to do. Just because the materials you use on the outside, especially like with pine, and then there's thatch on the inside because it's like a two-way piece. It's really difficult to tie those together, but by using the exterior lamps all over the inside, they've creates a really cohesive design overall. And so visually, although the outside doesn't necessarily have as much like detail to the individual like building spaces or rooms on the outside, the overall design of the outside is like just really fun to run around. It's the pathways connecting everything is really well done. The exterior spaces, like the seating area over here, is like a really visually interesting space to kind of run around and see, utilizing the garden patches and everything, just creating cool exterior spaces. I think is really well done. And the way you've tied in some of these exterior elements with the stairs, I think works really, really well. One thing you could potentially think about on the materials in the exterior is start trying to think of walls as not just one block thick. I think that's where the outside of your build maybe falls a little bit short. I think it works really well when you have this, but again, this is like how I think of it as a double thick wall, where you could potentially bump this up to like the level of a 10. Is, although the shape is really interesting, I like that it's kind of like one space off, and then this the center space. I think that all works really well, but I think it falls a little short with the use of the clover roof and the grass as the side. I do like that it like glows through it at the same time, so I think maybe that works, especially because it's sort of another element that sort of pushes this green lamp design further, is when everything kind of glows green. But there are just some of these elements that are a little kind of bland on the outside. You've done a good job kind of tying them together using the sturdy grass walls, so it's not just grass. But I think if you added an extra layer, doing like a vertical quarter, like any whatever vertical half wall, palisades, whatever material you want it to be, you could add one layer there and then tie it up into this a little bit, and that would allow you to sort of add a little bit more depth to the exterior. I think that is probably the one thing the exterior of this is lacking, is just a little bit of depth to the walls themselves, and that's sort of the struggle of designing with a paper thin wall in this game. It's what we have. But that's where the struggle is. If you use one wall, they're such thin walls, whereas like Minecraft, you have a thick block. Similar in Shrouded, you get a thicker block, and so it's a lot easier to kind of create that feeling of depth and like thickness in a wall. Grounded is very easy to create these like paper thin looking walls. And so I would potentially think about how you could add some more detail to this exterior design without, it wouldn't really affect the overall interior by any way, but it would add just a little bit more. And you could also start working with more of these lighting effects too. Really like how these two curved walls come together with one of these lamps, and you could easily kind of continue adding those on in some of these like places where these different things meet, and that would also be an option to kind of continue the theme, just push it to that next level. I think very well done on that though. At the same time, the structure, interesting one here. It's a little tough. It's always a tough one to grade when it's not a super structural build. Everything's held up by the stump, so I think you've done a really good job integrating it into like the roots of the tree, which is kind of exactly what you want to do, building it out over the roots, and everything kind of follows them down. So structurally, in that sense, it makes total sense. Probably give an 8 on the structural side, because I think there's some elements that work really well. Especially like when you start thinking, I think of these as sort of columns and pillars. So they would also be sort of structural elements. They tie in really well where you've connected them like this. I think in those moments it works really well, but then some of the other structural pieces are just not quite there in the same way, not quite to the same level of design necessarily. So I think you could just bump it up a little bit again. And I think structurally speaking, like you could take these lamp designs as more structural pieces and start like tying these things into the stump a little bit more.
Just looking.
Finding ways to maybe like hold these pieces up that are a little bit more floating would visually help a little bit as well. Or even the lamp designs or something similar, kind of tying this into the tree would also help with the lighting of the outside, which I think you could bump up a little bit too. I think it looks really nice. Of course, the render distance isn't incredible right now, so we can't see everything. But where I see these elements, I kind of want to see more of them throughout the whole thing. And I visually read them as structure, essentially. So that's why I kind of say keep using them. You know, it maybe seems overkill to use just trillions of them, but at the same time, like you already went all in with using them literally everywhere. So just like double, triple down on that concept and just keep going with it, because I think visually it ties the whole thing together really well. But my brain sees the little structural elements in these spots and is really drawn to these moments, and then these kind of like fade away into the background. So it'd be an interesting way to light everything up a little bit more, draw more attention to the overall building itself, while still kind of keeping the continuity that you've used pieces throughout the whole design. But very well done. The functionality, I think you could definitely improve on some of the moments. This kind of goes back to the interior design comments I made. Some of the interior moments just don't quite feel like they're at that same level of design. I tend to struggle with this part of the design as well at times, as I'm more of like an exterior landscape, like an exterior I designed architectural buildings. So I got really good at the exterior side of it, but interior designers were the ones always working on the actual insides of the buildings. So I worked with them in many ways, but didn't necessarily like gain my own skills at the same time. To a certain degree, I got some of them working on some projects, but not all of them. And so I tend to find myself building very similarly to this, where these like, although this is sort of more of an interior element that's happening here in the interior design, they don't find their way, that level of design doesn't necessarily find its way into like the way the chests are stored, the way you utilize these different machinery pieces. Like obviously still work to be done, but the functional side of it, of course it works. There's nothing wrong with it. You have all the individual pieces that are needed for a base to function, of course, but I'd probably give like a 7 on that, because I think you could really start, like with the curved walls and stuff, you could really start creating some fun elements. We've seen a lot of these designs like with spinning wheels used in circular pieces like this, but I think they could be tied in better by maybe using them like in these areas, getting the grinders up off the floor and adding more of them, especially if you continue building on this base. Like you're just going to need more materials. You're still going to need more pieces to work with in the long run. Dying. What doesn't smoothies give? But I think you could push the functionality side of it to just be slightly more integrated into the base, I think is kind of the way I like to think about it. All raw, aren't they? We're good.
Man, I miss bug steak.
The theme and continuity is one where you're absolutely knocking it out of the park. I would, I think this is one where I could probably give you a 10 on the theme and continuity. I think very few bases get to this level of not necessarily repetition, but using one idea as like a driving force in the design. And so I think a 10 is probably deserved here, although I think you could push some of these elements, as I said, to another level and continue like doubling and tripling down on this concept. I struggled giving you anything lower, because you've done it exactly the way I preach it, where it's not just one element repeated over and over and over again. It is a concept that's repeated over and over again, if that makes sense. So the fact is, like, these are lamps outside with pebbles on the top and bottoms. Those are repeated only on the exterior. but then you take the same exact element, immediately tie it into the entrance of the base, and so visually it's just like an instantaneous like level of continuity that I immediately gravitate towards. And then you take the same exact design, you remove the pebbles, you remove, like in other places you use clay, and they're now actually just part of the wall design itself. And then in the same spot, same design, they're now hanging lanterns from the ceiling. And some people might say, wow, that's too much of one thing. But in my sense, I think you've done it like a really good job. Using this element as a really big driving feature for why the base is the way it is. You've taken it from like outside freestanding lamppost to now an interior column with the same design. You get these really nice lighting features, and then you immediately go to a completely new way of designing it, which makes it, if these were all the way to the floor, I would very much feel like this place would start to feel a little claustrophobic, maybe have too much lighting, but by using the clay pillars to sort of break it up, it's just enough that the space doesn't feel like overwhelming, and because these are so much bigger than the pillars. I think you've done a really interesting job. You tie more of those in over on that side, like utilize like hanging lights in the basketball arena and stuff. So I would say continuity-wise, it's very impressive. This is what I say when I say like there's one element that's repeated multiple times, but in different ways, and you can create a cohesive design without it feeling like just hitting copy and paste over and over and over again. Although maybe some people would feel like this is maybe a little bit more copy and paste, I honestly feel that you've switched up each individual area enough that they all kind of read as the same element but in new ways. Even just the way they frame these different areas, I think it's a very, very good job on that side of it. So yeah, theme and continuity, easy 10 on that one. Some people may disagree, but I think this is a level of where I really am trying to push people to experiment with the same design but in new ways. I think this does a really good job kind of exploring that concept. The overall creativity, I think an easy 9 here. Of course, I think some of the interior pieces can be lifted up a little bit with more decor items. Kind of really tying down like the basketball court is very much designed for that specific use. The like seating kind of area, you've got your own like bed and throne room and stuff. The areas where you're kind of picked a specific use of what that area is going to be. I think you've done a great job, but it's those other areas where you kind of have to bring them up to that same level. So I think the creativity wise, I think you're overall an 8. The stuff that you've done that I gravitate towards feels very, very creative. But there's just a couple elements that want to kind of come up to like this level of detailing. When you're walking around these spaces, they're not maybe so wide open. And that just comes down to picking what that space needs to be and really distilling it down to those like simple elements. But having empty spaces sort of deters from it just a little bit. But everything else, like where you've really, really well done on like using curved walls and the straight walls, the angled stair pieces, I think are really hard to work with at times, and so I think you've done a really good job coming up with an interesting way of laying this whole base out and creating really interesting creative floor pieces, lighting pieces, structural pieces. I think it's very interesting. And the overall potential of it, I think, again, you're probably a 9 on that. I'm not really sure what a 10 would even quite look at in terms of potential. It may be impossible to get a 10 on the potential because if you haven't built enough that there's just endless amounts of potential, there's probably not enough to go off of. At the same time, it's you've built out enough that you have a lot of interesting little design ideas that you can continue pushing and creating interesting designs as well at the same time. So I think lots of space to work with. You've built on a scale that allows you to continue building as we get more and more pieces added to the game, but you also have designed out to a pretty good level overall the details of the base as a whole. I think it's very well done. A really fun base, super unique, very, very new design and interesting take on sort of a treehouse type build. Very, very cool. But Once again, Gantros, thank you so much. Thank you for letting us review this base and let us take a look at it. I know there's a lot of interesting ideas that people are going to take and utilize in their own bases here. I think it's a really, really interesting design overall. Can't wait to see how you keep working with it. Another very cool base, y'all. Very cool. Still holding on, but you're tired? No worries, Knowledge. No worries. I know, it gets late. It gets late with my time. Thank you for introducing Timber to building games, by the way. We got quarter triangle pieces thanks to him. True. It's all Sub-Zero. It's all him. You did create a monster. This channel literally would not exist without us playing Grounded together, that first bit. And like Spencer started getting into the whole base building thing, and it was like, hold on a second. You can build bases in this game? That's incredible. Let's do it. No, I think they're right. I think they've created a monster. If you've seen what I've built in Grounded 1, I'm a monster. Yeah, I went crazy. Timber was always a monster with any game he got really into. I just went and played COD back in his glory days and have yet to see a more monstery gamer. Dude, we went ham. I could go ham on some COD, dude. For fun times. I still liked the COD game. Have. I think we could do one more quick one. This is a re-review Shep's. I think they've added a bit to it, but I think it's with how much time we have left, getting into a whole other base might be a little. Planning a small base at first, but then it became a mega build. That's the best way to do it, Pat. That's the best way to do it. Keep going. Don't look at the pics I sent in Discord. Why? Why'd you send them then? How am I telling me not to look at something is like the most devious of behaviors. How am I not supposed to go look at it? Yeah. Very nice. So we have seen this base already in some ways. It's another massive build. Absolutely incredible one. But hey, Shep, welcome in. That'd be a good fit since we only have so much time. So I don't have to necessarily talk about all the things we've already seen on this base. We kind of focus on the new interesting design pieces. Sent the videos on Discord. Perfect, Pat. Perfect. And yeah, we'll probably get to you next. Well, next week we're doing Grounded 1. But likely get you. So it may be a week or two before we get to your base, since we're going to be, I think, jumping into Grounded 1 mega base reviews next week as we continue to fill up our list a little bit. Getting a little low. Got a few people reach out naturally. As soon as I start feeling like we don't have enough bases, immediately 3 or 4 people start reaching out, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm full of it. This is my cockroach. Rad. Done a lot more since those videos. Perfect. Yeah. I'll take a little view at them afterwards as well. Some Grounded 1 bases. Yeah, we're gonna look at some of the biggest and best. Not necessarily the biggest and best, because See-Through's done a lot of tours. I've done old tours of Ludorav's stuff, but feels like a good time to toss in some Grounded 1 there's been a couple people going back into Grounded 1 and finishing old builds and stuff while they're waiting, and there's some bases that no one's gotten to see yet that are just absolutely, like, all the builds tonight have been absolutely insane, but the scale of some of these Grounded 1 builds are just freaking insane. They are absolutely ridiculous.
I would rather have my dad's cooker.
Oops. Let's see. Or something. Gotta find some water real fast, and then we're good. Uh-oh. Where's he at? Bring it. Wanna go? You didn't stand a chance.
I can feel my cells
Do
rehydrating.
one more. Lord. Rude. Ship your base is insane. Finally here. Jeez, man. Just looking at it from down here. Yeah, and this is like the second time we've seen this too, and it's just getting better and better. I wish I had like a before or after, but Shep, if you haven't watched, not Shep specifically, but if anyone hasn't seen the first review of Shep's base, it is on one of the most recent videos that we did on the channel, on my YouTube channel, so you can kind of see the improvements and changes they've made, because yeah, massive improvement. So next up we have I Am Shep. This is a bit of a re-review here. We saw this one on the kind of the first take handful of weeks ago as well, but holy cow, have you made some freaking serious improvements in terms of the details and stuff. This one specifically was like, the scale is astronomical. It is so freaking big, and so the first review was like, dude, this is insane. I want to see the details. Like, I want to see it come to that next level and not be like quite as flat, and like you've absolutely already done that. You've achieved that in every way, shape, or form. The amount of detail just on this lower entry area, the extra detail in these areas with like the balconies and stuff. The tip that I had given of changing this to the darker pine material in these really adds like a really nice amount of detail. It really highlights.
This counts as research, right?
Not that it's my thing at all. Like what I really loved was the design that you had working here, and I had just felt like the whole time it was a little flat, and so this is already taking it to like a huge improvement, and I think it looks really cool. Great start already. Like, this is exactly what I want to see when I do re-reviews. Is like, I want to see it and be like, wait a second, what the heck did you do? This all, like the storage facility down here is super clean. I know it's just pallet storage, but I really like the way you lit this up. Looks super clean. Nice little details. You've given yourself tons of outdoor space over here as well, which looks really nice. Just bumped up the entire level of detail. Very cool. The covered bridge as well looks really nice. The little lanterns and stuff in there. I don't know why, but this is giving me some temple vibes from Serious Sam. Yeah, it's freaking epic. And it's gotten even. The first go around was like, oh, there's some potential here. Like, this was a base. If I was gonna grade any base on potential, this is the base that I felt like had a 10 out of 10 on potential, because you had a lot of really interesting ideas to go, but there was the scale is so freaking big that you had so much work to do still. And obviously, still a lot of work to do, but like all of this is new space that we haven't necessarily seen before. And why I would say out of every base, this one had that potential for a 10 out of 10, because it's so absolutely massive that you have nothing but potential to work with here. You've given yourself years of fun to build in here, which I think is really cool. I think you've created a very cool start. Yeah, and I can't wait till you get mushroom brick and the new materials and stuff, because yeah, this is epic. And like, this covered space is a huge improvement. It looks really nice. Taking these elements like from down in the storage area and like continuing these is another really nice design element as well. Those look really cool. Just make sure there's nothing new on this side. As a someone who loves symmetry, I absolutely love the way you kind of upgraded the symmetry of this entire thing as well. And just, again, like I said, so much potential. Holy cow, you've even changed this all up. Dude, this is freaking phenomenal. I know there is so much room to fill here, but my brain immediately is picturing like the vibe you've created here, the little lighting effects. so much room for potential. And like it already looks epic, and you haven't even finished so much of it. And there's so much to do, so many details to add still. Holy cow, you've added so much. And again, I know there's a lot of people will say this is the downside of mega builds, is that it's never finished, but as someone who likes mega building, I thoroughly enjoy seeing the massive scale and just getting to daydream about what can be put in here. And the detail level, though, is like with the little like spiky bits, adding this like rooftop covered, semi-covered, not covered area, the chandelier, a cool little caterpillar as well. Really cool. Again, more stuff that you've even further improved upon. Your bug museum is even better than it was beforehand. Slowly getting it all filled in and detailed and stuff, but it's like you can see, this is why I say this one was the potential. This was the 10 out of 10 on terms of potential, because there's so much room and there's so many cool things. Function, everything is great. There's so much room to just add everything that gets added to the game, and like the detailed areas where you have spent the time to kind of figure things out look really good. But you also have just given yourself so much room. Like all the armor pieces, especially like I think potential this early is also really important. Something that maybe I haven't focused on as much with other builds, the size. Because we are so far away. We have so many updates coming. That means we have so many materials, so many armor types, so many weapon types, so many bug types. Like there's so many things that if you're truly trying to add like in your build, if you're trying to add a display for all the armors and all the weapons and all the bug mounts and all the head mounts, like you have to build on a larger scale in terms of trying to fill out all this space with all the cool things that are going to be added. You just have to think bigger, and so I thoroughly appreciate that you have thought huge. It opens up a lot of potential. Makes it very interesting, and even really like that you've like broken this wall up too, like on the sides. I think that's a really nice addition here, and really enjoy these. I'm not sure, I don't think any of this was here previously. I don't think any of this side design on either side or the back was designed. I'm pretty sure this was all added on. So somehow you took my idea for like go big and keep going, and I want to see all this cool stuff, and you decided to go even bigger still. Somehow you've managed to make the base bigger while also adding some of the details and stuff. So I think that's really successful. Very cool. Of course, as everyone's going to say, what's going to go in the middle? There's so much stuff that's not done, but that's Future Chef's problem, you know? Like, everything's headed in the right direction for me. And if anyone else wants to take on a project in survival and see how much work and effort it takes to build on this scale, it does just take time. It takes a lot of freaking time. Is there a practical way to calculate square footage on these builds? No, not at all. This is all just count. The only thing you can really do is take a piece of floor like this and pick a spot, and then you can just run until the game says you can't place anymore. Yeah, you're getting close to that build limit, and I can tell with the lag. No, it even wants not even far enough to use it like that. Holy cow, it just keeps going. Alright, we're lagging too bad. It's not working. Yeah, normally it hits a limit where it won't let you continue doing it, so you could do that. That's about it. There's not a great way to like count this out. You just kind of have to physically count it out, which makes it even more difficult to build on this scale. Plenty of room to all add the new things as they come. Yep. Yeah, you could definitely use this as a massive Coliseum area and stuff too. It'd be very interesting. Or an arena from Dune. Yeah, that would be a really cool one as well. I also really like how you added these little balconies on the front. I know it's a simple little addition, but it really breaks up that front wall in a way that I think looks really, really nice. I think the last kind of area we want to hit is the side piece, the upper bridges. Yeah, unfortunately, no zip lines yet in this game. We're not getting those until summer. But they added buggies, Sub-Zero, just so you know. They Grounded 2 has buggies now. So you ride bugs instead of using zip lines like in the first game. So you have a new form of transportation. Square inches would be a better unit of measure. Yeah, I think doesn't it use centimeters? Yeah, because we're bug sized, we use centimeters. But yeah, there's not really a great way you could, because you can't really peep effectively while you're in a space like this. You could kind of peep and get the distance, but I think it's too inaccurate overall. Really like the little window, not little, the massive window designs here, especially with the ladders and stuff. I think that looks really nice. Great little addition as well, like being able to see into these other spaces. I also like that you kind of doubled down on the spiral staircases a little bit more as well. Creates a really nice little visual effect as well. I really liked how you did the spiral staircases on this, on the corner pieces. I like seeing more of that for sure. And then you just have the pieces go all the way around. That's sort of the whole thing. Yeah, we've seen those ladders used as windows a couple different times, but I think every time they're slightly different. I think they always look really nice. Yeah, you can ping on the map a little bit, but in terms of like trying to figure out the distance between pieces, like you can do that, but it doesn't necessarily give you quite the I don't know if it's quite accurate enough to be able to like utilize the distance between two things to figure it out. In terms of planning, you might be able to a little bit, but very, very cool additions, man. Jep, I am thoroughly impressed with the additions. I know there's still 1,000 hours of work on this thing because you built so freaking massively, but man, everything I asked for has happened and more. So a very fun upgrade overall. I think you've done a really good job adding to the details of the new things, or to like the new details of things I had kind of pointed out specifically, but then to like go and start building out the entire sides and adding more to it. Like, you didn't just take the ideas, you even made the build bigger at the same time. So I think it was very, very good additions. I think it looks really nice, and you've breaking these big walls up, adding in these fun exterior spaces are all really, really cool additions. The back space is really nice, very well done. The whole front of the entire castle looks exponentially more interesting than it originally did. Just keep going, man. Like, it was very, very cool. If you're curious, Shep is on YouTube. But yeah, all the additions are really, really well done. Lots of new details, lots of new things. Not sure what to do the best for grades on these base reviews that are re-reviews of a base, since we've seen a lot of this. But I'd specifically say everything I asked for has been upscaled to another degree. So if I would say your potential was a 10 on the first build, your potential has gone somehow higher at the same time because you've added more to it, but the more interesting designs that you're working with now, having these extra layers of detail, the lower areas just adds even more to the potential of this base. There's just so many little ideas you have going on, so many fun concepts to work with, so much space to build with, that it's really cool. It is really, really interesting to see, and it makes it really exciting to want to like come back and see. And you've also just the way you've connected all these different spaces together, I think, is like a masterclass in layouts and stuff. Everyone should be striving to find these interesting pathways to like get between these different spaces. I think that's where you've made it really, really interesting. Just the way you go from one spot to another, it just feels like a big open space. And somehow you've broken it down really interestingly to create interesting connections between those large spaces, which I think it's a difficult task. It really is a difficult task at times. I think it's very, very well done though. And you can see glimpses of like what each one of these spaces is going to end up looking like in the long run. I think it's very exciting. Very, very cool. Yeah, impressive, man. Let's say you went from like what I would say is like an overall 7 in terms of like there was potential, but there wasn't necessarily the detail level that I was hoping for, and you've bumped that up to like an 8 or a 9. I won't necessarily go through the full grading options because we've already graded this one and because there's still so much work to do, but I think you are absolutely headed in the right direction. I think now what it really comes down to is how are you going to detail out these massive spaces? That this is where I start to see the potential here, all the stuff underneath, the way you're designing, like the way to like vertically move through these through this castle is all really good. The walkways are all good. Now it's like, what's happening? Like, what is the main event that I'm waiting for? Like, what is going to happen in this massive interior space? What is going to happen on these like side spaces? Because now they're really highlighted kind of moments in terms of the overall design of the base. But now, what are these spaces going to exist for? I think is now the real question. I'm sure you've probably thought of all these different ideas, but now I want to know like what is happening here. What are the big elements that are going to be coming in? Because I think that's what's going to now. I see the potential, see the little moments, see all the functional things. I've seen all these different like interesting ideas. You've broken up the spaces that I thought were too big, like these walls were all enclosed. So I think you've done all those elements. You've tied like vertically these elements in, added more detail to the towers themselves, to the window pieces. Now it's just getting into the nitty gritty of it all. Like the big moments have been made outside of course, the center and what's happening in here. So now it's get into the details of it. Like really start diving into how these spaces are detailed and stuff. Like what's the main purpose of these? Are these like training areas, places where you can put like armor dummies for like ranges, to like train for archery builds? There's so many little armor training dummies in the game now. The targets, all those things. I could see those being really interesting in these lower areas. Is it going to be a village of some kind? I mean, a lot of castles on the inside have more housing and stuff that you could start to mess with. Or is this a Colosseum type effect and this is all going to be filled in with a massive battle arena? And you can have, yeah, if you ever get a full-sized stuffed axle, that'd be a fun one to toss in here and mess with. I think you're heading in the right direction, man. Just keep going, keep adding little details more and more, and this thing is going to be one of the craziest builds we've ever seen, just because of the massive scale. And you definitely have the design savviness to create some more really interesting details. I can see all the potential with how you've designed out the bottom. Now I just want to see that level of design all the way up here as well. I think you've crushed it. I think it's really, really interesting and a lot of potential here for the future, especially as we get more decor items, we get more bug mounts, we get more materials, the mushroom brick, the ash cement, like all those things are just going to add for more and more interesting designs here. So you've honestly very, very cool build, man. Thank you once again for sending this one and letting us take another view at it. And in another month or two, once we get some new items and stuff, I'd love to see again kind of where you've taken it and how you've continued adding to it. Really, really interesting. Gives me lots of ideas, man. Gives me a lot of really interesting ideas that I could start working into my builds and thinking on that larger scale as well as we continue playing Grounded. But thank you again, Shep. Really appreciate you and everyone tonight. You guys absolutely are killing it with these builds. Like, once again, always impressed. Always love seeing your guys' updates. Love seeing how you take my random comments and how you implement them in your own ways. How you continually upgrade these things. Like, you guys are killing it. These were super fun bases to see tonight. But yeah, we, Shibuya, Knowledge, Peasant, Copper, Gantros, and Shep, thank you all Could not do these base review nights without you guys. And keep going. Keep going with these awesome builds. They just get better and better, and I can only see that, like, by the time we hit 1.0, like, the people who find this game outside of early access are going to be absolutely blown away with what you guys are creating. Like, it's going to be so fun. I'm so excited for the future. Like, once we get more updates and more items, we get new stuff to play with, we get new stuff to work with and build with. Like, if this is what you guys are doing with the really limited amount of stuff we have, like, it's going to be scary. It's honestly a little scary to think of all the craziness you guys are going to build at this rate. Like, it's impressive. They just keep getting better and better every week. I don't really understand how that's possible, but it is. Thank you for allowing us to share them with you. Yeah, no, you guys deserve all the thanks. Like, I'm just the vessel that gets to show off and talk about your cool stuff. Like, without you guys working super hard and continuing to do this, like, this channel doesn't exist and doesn't get to keep growing. So I really appreciate you guys being willing to let me take a look at these awesome builds and show them off to people. I know that's it can be a little bit vulnerable. You have to be very vulnerable to allow someone to take a look at your hard work. I mean, especially you guys are all, I mean, every base tonight was like 500 plus days. Like, that's an incredible amount of time to put into a build to allow someone to just pick it apart and have fun with it, show it off to people, and be open to a little bit of criticism and try to figure out how we can improve things. But I mean, yeah, it doesn't work without you guys being so willing to share cool ideas and continue pushing the design. It's really cool. But I really appreciate everyone. Let me take a look at these. We will be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will be playing more Enshrouded. There was a hotfix kind of update today as well. So the water mechanics have gotten even better in Enshrouded. If you haven't checked out Enshrouded before, please come by stream tomorrow. It is an absolutely incredible building game. Grounded 2 and Enshrouded are like my favorite building games ever. Well, Grounded 1 and Grounded 2. I'll put them on the same. But Grounded and Enshrouded are like some of the coolest building games. I know Grounded isn't necessarily everyone's style, but if you like more of a Valheim, Minecraft style building game, Enshrouded's where it's at. It's freaking insane, the level of customization and the more realistic builds that you can make in that game. Really exciting. So I'm super excited to continue building in that. They also have voxel water in the game now, so it's like such a fun mechanic. So you come watch me drown in water for the entire night tomorrow as we learn more about it. Yeah, it's like a Skyrim RPG with building. Exactly. It's exactly that. And it's really fun, really cool RPG aspects. Similar to Grounded, has so much potential in the way you can combine materials and do stuff. So it's a really fun game. I'm excited to keep showing it off to everyone while we take little breaks from building in terms of Grounded building till we get some more materials. Probably going to be a little slower. I apologize for the people that are dying for Grounded 2 content. I know I am too, but until we get some updates, I feel like I'm absolutely stuck with my build right now. I have really big plans for how I want to design this thing out, and without Mushroom, it's just the vision does not come together. So we'll kind of be in a holding position until mid-December when we get this next mini update where we get some Christmas decor. We'll check it out. We'll see what it's got when that comes out, but we'll keep building in Enshrouded as well to keep the mega build vibes and design ideas going, and hopefully get you guys excited about some other building games, because I'd love to continue adding building games to the streams and stuff, so we can continue growing the channel, bring in new builders, new designs, keep pushing people to build in other cool games as well. But yeah, we'll just keep going. It's fun, man. I'll try to join more often. Sounds good, G. Appreciate it, man. Sorry I didn't tell you previously. Hey, thank you for the Prime sub, G. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, well, more of this. This is what we do. Tomorrow night is going to be more just me talking like a goofball, and as usual, and just building cool stuff as well. So it's a different vibe, but it's also really fun to just kind of mess around with people and show off cool stuff. But your build is looking great so far. Thank you. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm having my Grounded 1, my Grounded 2 build, and my Enshrouded build. I'm really excited about the future of those. Like, I think they're gonna be really epic. So it should be very fun fun times. You should do Wednesday as Enshrouded, and Thursday has a tour day for this week. What? We're not playing Thursday. Thank you for the follow as well, G. We'll catch you on the next one. Yeah, we're gonna stick with Tour Tuesdays. Wednesdays and Thursdays are just build fun streams, man. That's the goal. But yeah, we're not streaming Thursday, so we'll be back tomorrow with Enshrouded, and then Friday, I think we're gonna be doing a day stream as well. I don't have work, don't have a whole lot going on. Got the day, kiddos going to the grandparents, so I have a lot of extra time. So if you're interested in Enshrouded stuff, checking out a new building game, maybe if you haven't seen it very much, Enshrouded Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then Friday, I think as of right now, tentatively about 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when we'll start. We'll kind of play it by ear a little bit. Make sure to join the Discord if you haven't already to stay up to date on when I'm going live. And also I'm on there all the time, so you can come and check it out, get in contact with me, also talk to the amazing builders in the community. They're all posting cool stuff and talking through ideas there. So it's a really good, really cool place to get together and kind of check things out, get ideas, bounce ideas off of other people that are really good at building. I'm not the only good builder here. There are other really, really incredible builders. They just don't do content creation. Thank you, Ducky, for the Discords. But otherwise, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on Twitch, and I will catch everyone tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Have a great rest of your night, and peace.